5 years ago, humanity fell into apocalypse when zombies suddenly appeared, spreading chaos and bloodshed everywhere, forcing people to kill for survival and power. The world was engulfed in a chilling atmosphere of death and sorrow. Only ruins and scattered corpses remained, evoking deep grief in all who saw them. On a dark road, corpses hung everywhere, showing humanity's cruelty as madmen found joy in killing, filling the area with deathly air. On a bridge, piles of crashed vehicles created a scene of despair and mourning. Amid the apocalypse, a man named Yan Zhen sped on his motorcycle, confidently revealing he possessed a special upgrade system awakened a year ago. A system mission panel appeared before him, asking him to kill low-level monsters for upgrade points, marking a new turn in his survival journey. While riding, Yan Zhen dozed off, his steady breathing and light snores audible. Suddenly sensing danger, he snapped his eyes open to see a thin, razor-sharp wire ahead. With no time to react, both he and his bike were flung by the wire, his helmet shattered from the violent impact. He and the bike rolled and slid across the cold road, leaving Yan Zhen lying motionless. A heavy truck approached as a red-haired man cheered, claiming another victim. Their leader stepped out, laughing gleefully at how his steel wire trap had killed the target. He mocked Yan Zhen, assuming he was a rich kid, and ordered the others to search the bike for loot. They tore through the motorcycle but found nothing of value, growing disappointed. Angry at the wasted effort, the boss yelled for them to kill Yan Zhen out of rage. The red-haired man obeyed, swinging his blade as he charged. He struck down with all his might for a killing blow, but the blade missed, hitting the ground and scattering dust and stones. Instantly, something sharp flashed through the air toward him. His sword arm was sliced off, flying into the air. His head fell to the ground, rolling in blood before stopping in the boss's hand. The boss froze, horrified, cursing in shock at his subordinate's sudden death. The red-haired man's headless body still stood upright for a moment. Then it collapsed backward, terrifying the rest as the boss screamed in fury, demanding to know who Yan Zhen was. Yan Zhen calmly stood up unharmed, straightening his clothes as his cold gaze sent chills through the bandits. The boss, drenched in cold sweat, was stunned, unable to grasp how his man had died so fast. Yan Zhen spoke coldly, asking if they were the ones who massacred the Dongli camp recently. The boss smirked arrogantly, admitting that his group had indeed done the killing. He bragged about his comrades behind him, all laughing as if killing was a trivial pastime. They boasted further, describing their savage acts of rape and murder against both men and women in the camp. One laughed madly about hanging a family of 3, making Yan Zhen frown and close his eyes to suppress his rage. He spoke softly, voice calm yet cold, saying he had planned to let them die painlessly. But his eyes flashed icy blue, his words cutting like blades, promising a painful death. Furious, the boss roared for everyone to attack Yan Zhen at once. They all drew their guns, firing wildly amid crazed, excited laughter. Yan Zhen stood still, raising his right hand arrogantly, claiming bullets could not harm him. It proved true. The bullets shattered or bounced away upon touching him. The boss was stunned, unable to believe his foe's clothes could resist bullets. Enraged, he aimed his pistol at Yan Zhen's head and shouted for him to die. The bullet struck, knocking Yan Zhen backward as he slid across the ground. The boss burst into mocking laughter, convinced he had killed him. He thought no armor could protect the head. Suddenly, Yan Zhen stomped down, cracking the road open into a deep pit. He stood up, smoke rising from his forehead where the bullet hit, as the system issued a damage alert. The boss and his men stared in shock, unable to believe a man shot in the head was still alive. Yan Zhen's eyes glowed cold blue as he spoke firmly. "My turn." The sword in his hand shone brightly, its hilt carved with a lifelike dragon head. The enemy panicked, firing his gun repeatedly. Yan Zhen used instant movement. Bullets sliced through the air but missed as he vanished from sight. He reappeared behind them, moving like a ghost, closing in on the red-haired gang leader in a blink. Realizing Yan Zhen had disappeared, the boss screamed in panic. A trembling subordinate shouted that Yan Zhen was near the riverbank, making the boss turn suspiciously. He waved dismissively, smirking that the tricks were just harmless showmanship. Suddenly, the subordinate's skin glowed blue, light spreading across his body as he screamed in terror. Blue flames engulfed him, his body burning fiercely as his screams filled the air. The boss froze, eyes wide with fear, unable to comprehend what was happening. He watched his men writhe in blue fire, their screams echoing as he trembled, shouting in despair, "What the hell is this?" But the nightmare continued. Strange energy surged from beneath his feet, dragging him in. The power flooded his body, his eyes bulging in terror as he trembled, feeling himself being consumed. He felt flames rising from his throat through his body, pain so intense he couldn't speak, every breath like being cut by blades. From arrogance, he turned into a pathetic beggar, kneeling for mercy. But Yanzhen coldly replied, "Tell the king of hell yourself." Yanzhen walked away calmly, eyes emotionless as if nothing had happened. The sword in his hand gradually dissolved into the air. His glasses appeared, flying back to his hand as the system announced mission completion and bonus points. He put them on, mounted his motorcycle, and ordered the system to upgrade the vehicle. The bike glowed as the system upgraded it to refined quality with extreme speed boost. After upgrading, the vehicle shone with bright armor, roaring powerfully as the air trembled. He sped off like an arrow, racing at terrifying speed across all terrains. Even over deep water, the bike glided smoothly, parting waves to create a clear path for Yanzhen. A year ago, his life had been completely different. Back then, he was a poor wanderer living in the forest territory, targeted by the Fang Clan, whose thugs beat him for picking fruit there. Bloodied but unbroken, he stood firm, wiped his blood, and declared he had lived there long without trespassing. Their leader sneered, pulling out a special seal and pressing it onto a tree before him. He glared at Yanzhen arrogantly, declaring the forest now belonged to the Fang Clan. Furious, Yanzhen stood up and shouted angrily, "Why are you so cruel? How can anyone survive this way?" He was instantly punched in the face. The blow sent him sprawling, blood spilling from his mouth. The thugs laughed coldly as they left, warning, "If we see you here again, you're dead." After a while, he struggled up, leaning on a tree, worried that the Fang Clan would soon take over the whole forest, leaving him homeless. Suddenly, a virtual panel appeared before him. "Congratulations, you have activated the Apocalypse All Things upgrade system." He stared in confusion, asking, "What is this?" The system displayed stats: strength, speed, stamina, physical resistance, other resistance, all at the lowest level, with no upgrade points available. 3 strange items appeared before him: a razor, a foam bottle, and a small knife. The first mission, called Wash Face, offered 1 upgrade point upon completion. He stared at them, unsure whether to believe it. With no other option, he decided to try, taking the items to the stream. Though it felt absurd, he washed his face, looked into the water, shaved, and cut his hair, telling himself he had nothing to lose. He decisively cut off his messy long hair. After tidying his appearance, he looked cleaner, though still ragged, like a beggar. Curious, he asked the system what came next. The system instantly announced, "Beginner mission complete. +1 upgrade point." It also explained that points could enhance any person or object, with costs varying by target. Yanzhen pondered, surprised that everything could be upgraded. He suddenly remembered he still had an apple in his pocket. He searched and pulled out a bruised apple, sighing in disappointment at its rot. Still, he risked upgrading it, power instantly surrounding his hand. When he opened his palm, the apple vanished, startling him as he shouted where it went. Suddenly, a massive tree sprouted behind him. The apple had turned into a giant fruit-laden tree, and Yanzhen marveled at the upgrade's might. The system issued a new mission: eliminate 20 zombies for upgrade points and experience. Night fell. He climbed the tree to rest, eating apples while gazing at the stars. He grumbled that he hadn't even finished eating before being assigned a zombie hunt. Soon he drifted into sleep among the branches. While asleep, he awoke to floating lights surrounding him. At first, he thought they were fireflies and watched curiously. But the bright glow was too strong to be from fireflies. Looking down, he was horrified to see flames blazing below. The Fang Clan had come, burning his apple tree in revenge. Their leader mocked him for ignoring their warning. The man laughed wickedly amid the roaring flames. Yan Zhen burned with fury, realizing he would never have peace while the Fang Clan lived. His face darkened as he gripped the trunk, knowing their existence meant endless unrest for him. He stood up firmly, clutching his knife, eyes cold and murderous, declaring they had forced him. One underling noticed something strange in the tree, but another dismissed it. Without hesitation, Yan Zhen leapt down from the tree, slashing straight at the arrogant leader. The blow split the man open, blood spraying everywhere in a brutal scene. The remaining thug shivered in terror, his whole body cold. He frantically pulled a gun from his back in panic. Yan Zhen reacted faster, lunging like an arrow, blade gleaming coldly. The man fired, but the bullet whistled past without hitting him. Before that, Yan Zhen had already snatched the gun and stabbed the knife back into his body. With one fatal strike, the man died, collapsing lifelessly. Yan Zhen stared at the burning apple tree, hatred seething within him. Determined for revenge, he turned away through the sea of fire, vowing to destroy the Fang Clan. His fury turned into strength, every step a vow to annihilate his enemies. At dawn, with mist still thick, Yan Zhen went out hunting zombies non-stop. He slew many, gaining experience and loot. The system announced he'd reached level 3 with 6 upgrade points. He read a stream of notifications about items and ammo, grumbling at the low drop rate but persisting. Clenching his fist, he rejoiced at leveling twice, finding common zombies easier to handle. The system displayed his status. LV3, all stats at 3, 6 upgrade points left, and his experience bar more than halfway filled. He ordered an upgrade of his tattered gear and received standard jacket, pants, and shoes. Yan Zhen stepped out of the forest. His new clothes looked clean, only the torn t-shirt inside remained unchanged. He inspected his gun carefully and planned to save 3 upgrade points for the next important enhancement. He worried about stronger feral zombies with special skills and feared his current gear might be insufficient. He decided he needed to upgrade his weapon because the present gun couldn't handle the feral zombies. He spent all points to upgrade the gun to greater power, plus 55% damage, then to elite gun, plus 55% damage, accuracy, range. The system reported the next rank required 3 points to become legendary gun, 200% damage, accuracy, range, adds dash shoot skill, and a further mission of plus 4 points to reach mythic gun with lock-on and teleport shots. He sighed in disappointment that the gun's appearance didn't change after upgrades, suspecting skins had to be purchased. A gunshot nearby made Yan Zhen startle and go on alert. He traced the sound to Fang Jia's mercenaries hunting a skinny man. The man was shot dead on the spot. Hatuo calmly smoked after killing him. Hatuo taunted the victim, mocking that running only wasted bullets. A comrade asked how to deal with the captured woman. They were holding a girl named Anaoki, small and weak, trembling with tears. Hatuo, the brutal commander, said coldly he would take care of her. He stepped close with a twisted smile and lecherous eyes, intending to satisfy his depravity. Yan Zhen hid behind a large tree, silently watching every move, tense inside. He observed closely, analyzing the enemy group's formation and weaknesses. There were 5 men in total, 4 carrying rifles. 1 man had a pistol, they wore standard tactical gear, and he weighed his advantage with the upgraded gun. As Hatuo tried to force Anaoki to undress, his lascivious voice made the atmosphere heavy. The girl bit her lip and clutched her clothes, eyes full of hatred. Seeing her defiance, Hatuo grew crazed and reached out to grope her. At that moment, a bullet tore through his head, blood spraying, freezing the group. The remaining soldiers panicked and turned toward the shooter, spotting a dark figure in the bushes firing continuously. The shooter was Yan Zhen. He had fired the first shot and coldly aimed at them. Without letting them react, he fired again. The shots echoed through the forest. The soldiers fled in chaos but fell one by one to his precise fire. When he ran out of ammo, he immediately removed the empty magazine from his gun. In an instant, he swapped a fresh mag in, ready to fire again. Stepping over the bodies, Yan Zhen coldly put an extra bullet into each to ensure none survived. After wiping out the group, he approached Anaoki, who was curled up in fear, and sat down before her. She blushed and looked away awkwardly, unsure what he intended. Anaoki grew even more embarrassed, reminding herself that even if he saved her and looked handsome, she must not act rashly. Yan Zhen, completely serious, opened his system panel before her an urgent mission. Rescue, reward, 2 upgrade points, status incomplete. He frowned in confusion. He had clearly saved her and killed all the mercenaries, so why wasn't it marked complete? Suddenly he froze, eyes widening as he realized something horrifying. And Anaoki saw something behind him, turned pale, trembling, and pointing in fear. A creepy, raspy laugh and clicking sounds echoed behind Yan Zhen, making him instantly alert. The dead Commander Hatuo had transformed into a monster with a 3-bladed head, bloody mouth, laughing maniacally about how getting his head blown off felt so good. The creature raised its claws, taunting Yan Zhen that it would send him to hell again, and Anaoki's trembling fear only excited it further. It laughed crazily, mocking that the game hadn't even started yet, and she was already terrified. Its deformed, rotting face made the girl feel violently nauseous. Unable to hold it back, Anaoki bent over and vomited hard. Afterward, she leaned on a vehicle, pale-faced, weakly saying, "It's just a reflex when I see disgusting things, making Yan Zhen speechless amid danger." Impatient, the monster roared and leapt at them wildly. Dust and black smoke filled the air, blurring Yan Zhen's sight. Suddenly, the creature's fist appeared inches from his face. The blow was so strong it pierced the military vehicle behind him. Thinking its foe dead, the monster laughed arrogantly, mocking humans as fragile as paper. It reached out with its other hand to grab Anaoki's head, but then it froze, looking puzzled. It glanced down to see its arm stuck in the vehicle's hole, cursing, thinking it was snagged. Looking closer into the darkness, it realized it wasn't trapped. Yan Zhen was gripping its arm with terrifying strength. It screamed in disbelief that a human could stop its punch. Yan Zhen yanked it toward him and kicked straight into its abdomen. The kick launched the monster hundreds of meters away, smashing a huge tree. It landed kneeling, one hand on the ground, blood gushing from its mouth, body trembling. Horrified, the monster wondered how the man could be so strong, even suspecting he was a corpse soldier, though he emitted no corpse aura. When it looked up, Yan Zhen had vanished, leaving only a gaping hole in the vehicle, making it wonder where he'd gone. Anaoki looked around too, shrugging as if she had no idea. At that moment, a gunshot rang beside the monster. Turning, it saw Yan Zhen coldly aiming at it, asking, "What is a corpse soldier?" The monster broke into a cold sweat, realizing its weakness, and answered that corpse soldiers were hybrids between feral zombies and humans, created as high-tier warriors. While answering, it secretly gathered strength in its arm, planning to strike when Yan Zhen lowered his guard. Yan Zhen wasn't satisfied and coldly asked, "Who created that thing?" The monster replied immediately, "Fang Wenken, head of the Fang Clan's research institute." Yan Zhen frowned slightly, muttering once again, "The Fang Clan." The monster thought he was distracted and prepared to attack, but Yan Zhen suddenly shot it in the head, ruining its plan. Yan Zhen calmly pulled the trigger, the bullet piercing through the corpse soldier's skull and ending it. Caught off guard, the monster fell, smoke rising from its head, feeling pain and frustration for failing to counterattack. It pretended to be dead, secretly glad the bullet hadn't destroyed its brain, planning to recover and take revenge. But before it could move, another bullet blasted its head apart, killing it for real. With the system confirming it was still alive, Yan Zhen kept firing into its head in fury, shouting, "Fang Clan, not corpse soldiers, none shall live." Gunfire roared through the forest, magazines dropping as Yan Zhen kept shooting relentlessly, giving the creature no chance to survive. He muttered hateful words while firing, his rage terrifying Anaoki with his near-mad expression. After emptying his 5th magazine, Yan Zhen finally stopped, leaving the corpse soldier's headless body lifeless on the ground. The system announced mission completion. Yan Zhen gained more upgrade points and exhaled in relief as his rage subsided. He immediately ordered the system to raise his level by 1 and saved the remaining points for later. The system complied, showing him at level 4 with all B-rank stats and a new skill allowing him to reclaim points from targets, cooldown 24 hours. While reviewing his stats, Anaoki curiously asked why, but he only glanced at her and stayed silent. He collected the loot weapons and gear, then told Anaoki to leave for her safety. She blushed, but firmly asked him to escort her back to the village. Yan Zhen coldly refused, saying he wasn't free to play bodyguard and had to focus on hunting zombies for points. He turned away, giving a brief farewell before leaving. After a few steps, his eyes reddened as he sensed something unusual. Anaoki had followed him, crying and begging him to escort her, promising a worthy reward. As soon as she spoke, the system generated a temporary mission. Escort the girl before you safely back to her village with upgrade points as reward, making Yan Zhen realize real-life requests could trigger missions. After a brief thought, he immediately accepted without hesitation. He then led Anaoki to an abandoned car scrapyard full of wrecks. She asked in surprise why, and he simply said, "Looking for a car." She grew more confused, doubting that any vehicle rusting there for over a decade could still work. Yan Zhen didn't answer, only murmuring, "Found it," after searching for a while. They approached a rusted car missing its engine. He chose it, claiming it was still usable. Anaoki mocked him, pretending to be blind as a joke, thinking the car couldn't possibly run, making Yan Zhen chuckle helplessly. He placed his hand on the car's hood. A mysterious emerald green energy enveloped the entire vehicle. A dazzling light burst out, making Anaoki panic and cover her eyes, screaming in fear of blindness. When the light faded, she finally dared to lower her hands. Before her eyes, the junk car had turned into a brand-new supercar. The system reported 1 upgrade point spent and awarded Dingy T racing car. She stood frozen in disbelief, stammering that she must be hallucinating. They quickly got in, and the supercar sped across the barren land, leaving dust swirling behind. Sitting inside, Anaoki kept exclaiming, touching the interior and praising Yan Zhen as if he had turned trash into treasure. Anaoki smiled brightly, her grateful eyes fixed on him, calling him a heaven-sent savior. Yan Zhen paused slightly, surprised by her view of him. He turned away, eyes forward, calmly saying he wasn't a hero, just someone forced by the Fang family. She quickly changed the topic, introduced herself, and asked his name. Yan Zhen replied gently, explaining its meaning, making the talk more natural. Suddenly, a fast-approaching object appeared in the rearview mirror. Yan Zhen immediately became alert, eyes wide, tracking the situation closely. He shouted for Anaoki to hold on, then swerved with full force, narrowly avoiding a collision. She clutched the door in panic, trembling as she asked what was happening. A massive boulder then crashed down beside the car, nearly crushing them. Anaoki looked back in terror. She saw a gigantic creature with pillar-like legs stomping the ground, raising clouds of dust. It was a mutant corpse called Quan Leishi Corpse, an unmeasurable level being with flesh and stone body, wielding a massive club, looking terrifying. It picked up a huge rock and hurled it skyward. Then it swung the club, smashing the rock like a cannonball toward Yan Zhen's car. He reacted instantly, steering aside with extreme speed. The rock grazed the car and hit the ground, shaking it violently and scattering dust everywhere. At that point, Anaoki casually said that this kind of mutant corpse often appeared in this area. Yan Zhen shouted angrily, scolding her for not warning him earlier. Anaoki scratched her head awkwardly, mumbling that she had just remembered. Yan Zhen sighed helplessly, giving up on reasoning with her, then sternly said they must escape the monster since they couldn't dodge forever. Seeing the road split ahead, he asked which way to go. She said the right path was rough but passable. The left led to a broken bridge. After hearing that, Yan Zhen came up with a bold, risky plan. He floored the accelerator and steered toward the broken bridge that Anaoki had just warned about. She screamed in protest, terrified, reminding him the bridge was broken, but Yanjin coldly said, "Then die together." His face turned fierce, eyes icy and filled with killing intent. And Xiaoki panicked, tried to open the door to jump out, screaming that he was insane and wanted to escape the car. Yanjin smirked coldly, mocking that since he'd accepted the task to escort her to the village, no one was allowed to leave midway. Meanwhile, the mutant corpse closed in, hurling rocks like rain and shaking the ground as the car sped toward the bridge. The bridge spanned a deep abyss with a raging river below. The middle section had collapsed. A fall there meant instant death. The car reached the bridge's edge, yet Yanjin kept full speed without hesitation, and Xiaoki screamed in terror, while Yanjin smiled confidently as if he had planned everything. He suddenly stretched his hand out of the car window. A mystical blue energy surged from his palm, gathering rocks to rebuild the broken section of the bridge. The bridge quickly restored solidly, and the system reported 1 upgrade point consumed, and the bridge successfully rebuilt. And Xiaoki shifted from fear to awe, leaning out to see the bridge, stammering in disbelief that it was possible. The car sped across to the other side, then Yanjin suddenly braked hard, spinning the car to stop at the bridge's entrance. At that moment, the mutant corpse lumbered onto the middle of the bridge, and Xiaoki panicked, clutching her head and crying, urging him to flee, not understanding why he stayed. Yanjin waved his hand, making the creature pause cautiously. He calmly told An Xiaoki to come closer. The mutant corpse stayed put, tossing the rock in its hand, preparing to attack. It raised its club like a baseball player ready to swing. But before it could strike, both the creature and the bridge began shaking violently. Yanjin withdrew his energy, causing the fused stones to collapse, breaking the bridge and sending the creature plunging into the abyss. The system instantly reported the Great Bridge downgraded and a recovery point gained. He regained 1 upgrade point as the blue energy returned to his hand and faded away. Witnessing this, An Xiaoki trembled in horror, realizing he had used the bridge itself to kill the monster. Yanjin ignored her, muttering in disappointment that since no experience was gained, the mutant wasn't truly dead. She, confused, curiously asked what experience points meant. He didn't reply, just hit the gas hard, saying they must leave before the monster came back. She calmed herself and firmly said that mutant corpses usually stayed within their own territory and rarely left. While driving, Yanjin asked skeptically whether the Fang family didn't steal supplies when they found them. She calmly replied that Fang family mercenaries took everything, while Wan family soldiers split it 80-20. Hearing that, he angrily retorted that taking 80% was outrageous. She closed her eyes and said shortly that it was the price for protection, since the village couldn't fight corpses anymore. Yanjin sneered that the Wan family were nothing but bandits, robbing first and pretending to protect later, nothing surprising. As he finished speaking, 2 vehicles, a white car and a military truck, appeared ahead, clearly intent on blocking the road. Seeing them, An Xiaoki immediately recognized the Wan family convoy and nervously warned him. When their car drew level, the white-led car of the Wan family also stopped. A man in an orange jacket leaned out of the Wan car, staring enviously at Yanjin's gleaming vehicle. Feeling the provocative gaze, Yanjin frowned and shot back a cold, challenging look. The orange-clad man kept staring until the car disappeared, then muttered in astonishment. He was Fang Su, the southern area supervisor outside Fang family's main control. Angered, he ordered his men, "That guy dared look at me like that, deal with him later." Beside him sat Aoyi, the supply security captain, arms crossed, coolly reminding him not to cause trouble since they still had to collect goods and that the driver wasn't ordinary. Fang Su scowled, leaning closer arrogantly and snapping, "Are you teaching me how to do my job?" Aoyi restrained herself, replying softly she meant no offense, only that if they were late, his date would be ruined. At the mention of a date, Fang Su softened, grinning foolishly and urging the team to hurry to the next village. Aoyi said nothing more, just turned to the window, cursing silently, "Idiot." Soon after Yanjin's car arrived, the village An Xiaoki mentioned was merely a cluster of containers forming a temporary settlement. An old man with white hair, ragged clothes, and a cane came out, and Xiaoqi's grandfather, the village chief. Hearing the car, he looked around warily, wondering what was happening. As soon as she stepped out, and Xiaoqi joyfully waved and called to her grandfather, voice full of excitement. The chief, overjoyed at seeing his granddaughter return, teared up, calling her name. Villagers rushed out, cheering in happiness. He hugged Xiaoqi tightly, trembling with tears, choking that he'd feared she was dead. She cried while recounting her journey, saying Xiao Chen, who went with her, was killed by the Fang family. She quickly introduced Yan Zhen, gratefully saying he was the one who saved her, and told her grandfather to take out the valuable items they'd promised as a reward. Yan Zhen smiled faintly and politely greeted the old man. The chief pulled his granddaughter aside, whispering worriedly that the Fang family supply officer had just been here behind them. Yan Zhen yawned indifferently. He continued in a low voice that all their hidden valuables had already been taken. Hearing this, Xiaoqi blushed, stammering to Yan Zhen that the promised reward couldn't be given and asked for his understanding. Yan Zhen calmly replied it wasn't necessary, saying he hadn't helped for the reward, then turned to open the car door. The system announced the escort mission complete, granting 2 bonus upgrade points, 3 total available. He turned back to her, coldly ordering, "Tell me where the nearest corpse creatures are." She immediately pointed toward a distant mountain, saying a horde of corpses was there, about half an hour away. Worried for him, and Xiaoqi softly reminded that there were mutant corpses on the mountain, and it was unsafe to go alone. Yan Zhen suddenly leaned close to her face, sternly ordering, "Commission me to clear the corpses." The closeness made Xiaoqi blush and gasp in embarrassment as the villagers murmured around them. She, flustered, avoided his gaze and nervously agreed. Then, "Please help us eliminate the corpses near the mountain." After she spoke, the system generated a new quest, and Yan Zhen smiled with satisfaction, realizing commissions also counted as system missions. With the matter settled, Yan Zhen immediately drove up the mountain, leaving the villagers watching in admiration. And Xiaoqi watched the car go, blushing with a faint smile, feeling he was someone trustworthy. The village chief, noticing his granddaughter's thoughts, teased her. Xiaoqi innocently replied, prompting him to ask the man's name. Xiaoqi, embarrassed, covered her face and ran off, while the old man sighed behind her. She suddenly turned back, still covering her face, and said the name Yan Zhen, making the old man shout angrily at how far her thoughts had gone. He was surprised his granddaughter cared that much, then looked worriedly toward Yan Zhen's car, knowing that mountain was full of danger. Yan Zhen drove to the mountain's base and entered the forest alone with firm resolve. While advancing, he upgraded his equipment, and the system reported 1 upgrade point consumed. The system displayed new stats and a passive physical skill that let him see enemy levels and reduce damage based on remaining health. He reviewed the stats, thinking about poison resistance, when he heard noises from within the forest. A group of red-eyed corpses charged toward him, but their low levels made them easy prey. He struck decisively, cutting them all down in seconds before they could react. After wiping them out, Yan Zhen's experience bar filled, earning him another upgrade point. The system asked if he wanted to upgrade his pistol, and he agreed instantly. The pistol evolved into an epic marksman gun with triple damage, accuracy, and range, plus a jump shot slow effect, visibly transforming in his hands. At that moment, a spear suddenly shot from behind with a piercing whistle. Metal clashed loudly against metal. He reacted swiftly, slashing the spear in half. Though he staggered, he kept his weapon and balance. Yan Zhen was startled by the opponent's immense attack power. The attacker was the elite mutant corpse Gloria, wielding a massive spear and built like a giant, clearly a formidable foe. He immediately took a defensive stance, raising his blade cautiously against the named corpse. The mutant corpse stood silently, gripping its spear without a sound. It twisted its body for momentum, then hurled the spear with full force like an arrow from a bow. The spear flew so fast it left only afterimages, slicing the air with a shrill whistle. He dodged in time, but the spearhead grazed his cheek, drawing hot blood. He retreated defensively as the spear continued forward, piercing the tree behind him. The sound of splintering wood echoed as the trunk split in half, the spearhead buried deep inside. Yanjin didn't hesitate, launching a barrage from his upgraded gun straight at the mutant corpse. At first, the creature scoffed, raising its arm to block the bullets, believing its flesh was tough enough. But a bullet pierced its arm, drawing blood and twisting its ferocious expression. Startled, it quickly changed tactics, retreating and skillfully dodging the remaining shots. It moved like the wind, hiding behind trees as bullets clattered everywhere in the forest. Yanjin realized this enemy had intelligence, analyzing and adapting, unlike the mindless corpses he'd met contradicting the Fang family's claims. While he was still thinking, another spear suddenly curved around a tree and flew toward him from a deadly angle. He gasped in shock, shouting as he recognized the unnatural trajectory. The spear shot forward with immense speed and piercing power. He raised his blade to block, but the force shattered it in half, and the spear impaled his abdomen brutally. The impact hurled him dozens of meters back, slamming him against a tree. He coughed blood as the system reported a loss of 30 health points. In excruciating pain, he still gritted his teeth, pulling the spear from his stomach as blood poured out. Before he could recover, the mutant corpse charged again, thrusting its spear in another wild attack. It threw the spear with perfect accuracy, predicting his escape path, forcing him to dodge desperately. Yanjin was astonished the creature could read his movements so precisely. But he reacted swiftly, leaning aside just in time to evade the strike. Narrowly surviving, he counterattacked immediately, firing a precise shot with a confident smirk. The bullet ricocheted off several trees in a zigzag path before piercing straight into the mutant's head. When it was almost upon her, the creature realized too late, turning in panic as the bullet hit. Yanjin scanned the area but saw no enemy, only a blood trail confirming it had fled. He approached where the mutant had stood, carefully examining the traces. Seeing the blood trail stretch far, he grew certain it had lost and escaped. The trail led him to a damp cave. He looked inside, guessing it was the creature's lair. It was dark and musty, making it hard to breathe, but he followed the blood deeper with firm resolve. At the end, he found a faint light shining on a stone altar holding a medal, an old pair of shoes, and a faded photograph. In the photo, a woman identical to the mutant corpse smiled gently beside a young boy with the words, "Olympic shooting memories," written above. He was stunned, wondering if she still retained human memories before becoming a monster. Suddenly, the severely wounded mutant lunged from behind, spear in hand, aiming straight for him. He spun around instinctively, raising his gun and taking aim in that life-or-death moment. They clashed again fiercely, bullets and spear strikes colliding with deafening force. The cave shook with dust and debris as the battle reached utter chaos. Both were exhausted, struggling. He gripped the spear tightly while the mutant corpse held the gun to stop him from firing. Her crimson eyes showed fury mixed with pain. Blood streaming down her forehead made her look tragic. Questions raced through Yanjin's mind. Why was she stronger? Was it because he had taken the photo and angered her? As they wrestled, a faint child's voice called, "Mom!" freezing Yanjin in shock. The mutant corpse trembled upon hearing it, her blood-red eyes softening instantly. Without a word, she abandoned the fight and turned away, rushing toward the voice as Yanjin stared in disbelief. He raised his gun to shoot, but only saw her figure fade into the forest. The mutant ran toward a rusty old car lying alone in the desolate woods. From a cage covered with torn cloth inside came the weak child's voice again. She trembled, reaching out to touch the cage where the fearful mom cries came from. The tender sound moved her deeply, almost making her weep. Just as she neared the cage, the car suddenly started and sped off at terrifying speed. The mutant froze, eyes filled with sorrow as the vehicle vanished into the distance. But she didn't give up, chasing with all her might even as the gap widened and her hope faded. The scene shifted to Anaoki and her grandfather, surrounded by Fang Su and his men. Fang Su, furious and arrogant, shouted loudly, repeating his question in a threatening tone. He roared in anger, demanding the whereabouts of the car thief he was hunting, and Anaoki scornfully cursed him in her mind as a shameless liar. Fang Su tried to control himself, but then screamed, calling them low-born scum for defying him. Suddenly, the sound of an engine came from the forest's edge. The car carrying the cage was approaching. He saw it, smirking proudly, saying smugly that the good stuff had arrived. He strode forward, yanking off the black cloth to display his trophy. Inside were a mother and child mutant corpse, the same female who'd fought Yan Zhen huddled together in fear and despair. And Anaoki gasped in horror, recognizing them, blurting out, "Aren't those the ones from before?" Fang Su's face turned red with anger as he threatened the villagers, saying if they didn't speak, he'd throw Hong into the cage to be eaten. The villagers, terrified by the threat, dared not resist. One of the Han soldiers arrogantly grabbed the radio, ordering the sniper team to stand by and shoot anyone who moved. The silence grew so heavy that Fang Su grew angrier, growling for the snipers to respond. He didn't know the snipers were already dead, lying motionless on the ground. Yan Zhen had silently killed the snipers using the mutant spear, now taking the sniper's position himself, disgusted by their exploitation of maternal love. He aimed his rifle, ready to strike down Fang Su and his Han soldiers. At that moment, Anaoki was held at gunpoint, forced toward the cage as one soldier coldly ordered her to step inside. Another soldier raised his gun, shouting that he'd shoot if she resisted again. Suddenly, a gunshot rang out. The bullet pierced the head of the man threatening her, shocking everyone. The shot soldier collapsed, his comrades panicked, and Fang Su, sensing danger, fled in chaos. The remaining troops were swiftly taken down by Yan Zhen's precise shots, throwing them into disarray. Fang Su ran frantically toward his vehicle, cursing as he lost control of the situation. After clearing the enemies, Yan Zhen aimed at Fang Su, who was 273 meters away. Just as he was about to fire, a grenade was thrown, landing dangerously 62 meters from him. Yan Zhen spotted it, eyes widening, cold sweat breaking all over his body. With no choice, he fired at it to use the explosion's force for escape. The blast propelled him tens of meters into the air. From above, he unleashed a rain of bullets onto Fang Su's car. Fang Su's face turned pale, terrified. He screamed at the driver to accelerate. The car sped off, swerving wildly to dodge the storm of bullets. At that moment, his wrist device sounded an emergency alert. The screen flashed red letters. "Distance exceeds safety threshold." Panicked, Fang Su shouted, realizing the bomb implanted in the child mutant's head had auto-activated due to distance. A cold countdown echoed as the mother and child mutant, overjoyed to reunite, suddenly sensed the looming threat. The countdown 5, 3, 2 resounded. The last image was the child smiling innocently, calling Mom before. A violent explosion erupted, the iron cage torn apart as smoke and fire roared out. The child was obliterated in the blast, blood spraying everywhere. The mother mutant froze in horror, trembling uncontrollably in unbearable pain. Her sewn eyelids burst open under the surge of rage. Veins bulged across her forehead, eyes blazing red with hatred and madness. She roared, fury turning into overwhelming power radiating violently from her body. The mutant shattered the iron bars, breaking free amid a monstrous howl. She dashed like a storm, chasing Fang Su's car at blinding speed, her figure a streak of light. Her eyes glowed fiery red-orange like burning flames, locked firmly on her distant target. Even after the car crossed a mountain range, she still pinpointed Fang Su's position. She unleashed her full power, electric energy crackling over her body as a new thunder-charged spear formed in her hand. Without hesitation, she hurled it, its arc twisted unnaturally, slicing the air with a shrill whistle toward the car. Inside, Fang Su frowned irritably, lamenting that a useful tool like Gloria had died, unaware death was upon him. He looked up, puzzled, seeing something speeding toward him from afar. As the spear neared, realization struck, fear drenching him in cold sweat. A thunderous explosion followed. The car was engulfed in a blazing inferno. The spear pierced through the vehicle and continued skyward, tearing through the stormy sky. Yanjin quickly grabs the mutant corpse's weapon. Facing the explosion, he's shocked by her true power. He realizes she had hidden her ability, revealing it only after losing her child. He feels sympathy, knowing her rage came from her child's death. Suddenly, he senses something's wrong. Turning around, he sees the mutant corpse behind him and raises his gun cautiously. He panics, realizing if she had attacked earlier, he'd be dead. Seeing his tension, the mutant corpse raises her hands, showing no intent to fight. Yanjin trembles, sweating, unsure whether to shoot. She calmly speaks, each word forced out with effort. Then she lifts his gun to her own head, pleading for release. He freezes, unable to move or decide. Desperate, she keeps begging him to end it. Suddenly, she attacks with a spear without warning. In that life-or-death instant, Yanjin reflexively fires. The bullet hits, the mutant corpse collapses instantly. He watches her body fade, realizing she forced him to pull the trigger. Facing her final image, he clenches his fist, vowing revenge on the Fang family. After finishing the mission, the system upgrades him, granting rare rewards, Gloria's eyes, muscles, and gun, each enhancing his power. Back within Xiaoqi's group, Yanjin tells them to keep the weapons for defense, taking only what he needs. And Xiaoqi asks if he'll stay with them, her voice hopeful. He gently refuses, saying he has unfinished business and can't delay. With that, he drives off through the smoky haze. He shouts back firmly, "Well, meet again if fate allows." And Xiaoqi watches, smiling emotionally and silently wishing him well. On the road, Yanjin grips the wheel, reminding himself to continue his journey. Setting his next goal, he speeds forward with determination. Standing on a cliff, he suddenly feels something's off, recalling what he forgot and getting excited. Below lies the mutant stone titan he once tricked into falling, still a dangerous unknown-level creature. After thinking, Yanjin upgrades all his gear, Gloria's eyes, muscles, and the epic gun, spending 6 points for superior accuracy and damage. On the cliff, holding 2 guns, he prepares to face the monster with firm resolve. Aiming at the target, he thinks one shot will end the fight. Suddenly, a strong wind and object rush toward him unexpectedly. He freezes, realizing something is attacking the boss ahead. A blue lightning beam pierces the mutant corpse, killing it instantly. From afar, a man approaches and coldly stomps on the corpse's head. It's the arrogant deputy captain of M5 Guard unit with red eyes and a merciless attitude. At the same time, Yanjin reaches level 5, all main stats upgraded to rank A, but with no points left. The M5% man curses his team over the radio, annoyed the mutant corpse was weaker than rumored. Suddenly, his body wavers and vanishes from sight. The mutant corpse suddenly rises, grabs him, and tosses him like a toy. Then it hurls him far away with immense force. He crashes into a cliff, rocks explode, and he faints. Bones broken, organs damaged, system reports only 40% recovery due to corpse poison. Yanjin observes, noting his attack was flashy but hit the wrong spot. The corpse's neck had turned to stone, nullifying damage. As the mutant corpse lifts its club to crush the dying M5% man, danger looms. Yanjin quickly throws his Thunderfire gun and fires at the corpse's head, halting the strike. The bullet explodes, fire and smoke engulfing as its stone armor shatters. The mutant corpse staggers, losing balance and moving erratically from the heavy hit. Seizing the chance, Yanjin grows excited, realizing it's the perfect time to finish it. He crouches, takes aim with his rifle, and shoots without hesitation. Activating the blink skill, he fires a deadly shot that pierces the corpse's head precisely. He keeps moving, firing rapidly like rain, leaving the corpse no chance to react. When the system confirms the boss's death, he holsters his gun and stands proudly as the victor. At that moment, the M5% man's eyes snap open, glowing red as he awakens in shock. He looks around in confusion, seeing only chaos. Spotting Yanjin near the boss's corpse, he doubts the man could have killed it. He convinces himself Yanjin is just an ordinary human with no corpse energy or strong weapons. The more he thinks, the more he believes the boss died from his own earlier attack. Yanjin notices he's still alive, wary that he might be a corpse soldier, while the man demands his team pass. Yanjin cleverly uses the system to craft a fake universal pass, spending 1 upgrade point to legitimize his identity. He casually pulls the document from his back and hands it to the M5% man. The man reads it, seeing it states Yanzhen is from Guard Team Number 10, Shuguang Zone 527, then curiously asks if he's a new recruit. Yanzhen nods firmly, confirming he just joined. The M5% man excitedly pats his shoulder, encouraging him to one day beat a boss this easily, leaving Yanzhen speechless. Then he pats him again and eagerly invites him into his luxury car heading back to the city. The vehicle rolls down the Huangwen Road toward the city. Sitting inside, Yanzhen smiles secretly, thinking infiltrating the Fang family is easier than expected. The M5% man brags about the deputy captain's privileges, mocking regular members who ride broken bikes, earning Yanzhen's silent disdain. He keeps boasting that with promotion, he'll be transformed into a corpse soldier to display his power, claiming he's already at Levener rank. Yanzhen stays silent, gathering intel and calculating that with higher level points he could advance quickly. The M5% man smugly brags about his achievements as their car stops before the city's massive iron gate. Above the walls, guards stand watch with loaded guns maintaining order. Yanzhen glances around curiously and asks if the defense includes flying mutant corpses, sounding doubtful. The M5% man eagerly replies they can not only fly but move at combat speed and even burrow underground, so newcomers must be cautious. They drive through the gate into a vast, magnificent inner city, and he proudly explains this is familiar ground for recruits. Upon arrival, his teammates rush to greet him, cheering the deputy captain's return. Pink-haired Baozi runs up, excitedly asking if the mutant boss was worth fighting. The M5% man sneers, saying it fell in one blow. Baozi looks disappointed but notes the mutant's strength was nearly equal to Gloria's. He strokes his chin thoughtfully, mentioning Gloria, the one who killed a deputy captain, also died mysteriously, leaving everyone puzzled. Then a white-haired girl named Nan Yu approaches Yanzhen, smiling seductively and teasing him. The M5% man quickly introduces Yanzhen as a newcomer from the outer zone, while proudly presenting teammates Baozi and Nan Yu. He assigns Baozi to guide Yanzhen, and Baozi confidently agrees, boasting he's great at training rookies. On the way, Baozi curiously asks about Yanzhen's relationship with the deputy captain. Yanzhen curtly replies none, making Baozi even more suspicious and question his backing in the city. Nan Yu watches him leave, regretting the handsome man's departure, while the M5% man snorts in annoyance. The surrounding members start betting how long Yanzhen will survive. Some say 3 days, others 4, none believing hell lasts long. Meanwhile, Baozi leads him past luxurious villas reserved for captains, all built by the Fang family. As they near a tall building, Baozi continues mockingly. "This is the dorm for regular members. Cramped, so it's called the pigeon cage," he says. Yanzhen calmly replies it's still better than his old place. Baozi laughs scornfully, saying he's dreaming since even this dorm is out of his league. He points elsewhere, saying that's Yanzhen's actual place. Yanzhen freezes, staring at the rotten shack in disbelief and anger. He can't accept living in such a shabby hut on the outskirts. Baozi folds his arms, sneering that as a rookie he doesn't even know he'll face a zombie survival test tomorrow with less than a 10% survival rate. Baozi widens his eyes, warning that rookies last only 3 days, so the hut is already generous. Yanzhen slumps in front of the shack. Helplessly watching Baozi leave, the man turns back to warn him to show up at 8 a.m. sharp or be executed for absence. As he walks away, Baozi glances back, thinking pityingly that someone as weak as Yanzhen won't survive even an hour in the test. Contrary to their worries, Yanzhen feels thrilled, his eyes gleaming with excitement, thinking things are getting interesting. The next morning at 8 sharp, all recruits gather before a gloomy abandoned building in the city's north. The M5% man, acting as deputy captain and examiner, stands before the line, announcing the rules with authority: eliminate all zombies inside. He points at the building, saying each will clear 1 floor. The top 3 survivors, finishing fastest, will be promoted to the elite corps, a highly coveted reward. While everyone listens, some recruits mock Yanzhen, pointing and calling him a fool. They jeer that he brought no weapon, asking if he plans to kill zombies with his mouth, laughing as if he's doomed to fail. Yan Jin merely glances coldly, noting the Fang family's cruel survival without gear selection method. He suspects a hidden agenda since the system only states briefly, "Clear zombies on your floor, bonus 3 upgrade points if he kills the hidden mutant boss." Soon after the test begins, many contestants fall miserably. A girl screams for help as a zombie chases her closely. On another floor, a buzz-cut man trembles, waving a knife and begging the approaching zombie to stop. Other floors are even bloodier, students decapitated by mutant corpses, the stench of blood choking the air. In contrast, inside the control room, a monitor coldly reports, 7 dead, 13 still alive. The M5% man sneers at the screen. Can't even handle one zombie. Good thing I released a few mutants. Zhang Xiao's group is probably wiped out by now. In another part of the building, a zombie is riddled with non-stop gunfire. A recruit lowers his gun, panting, "Done. That last one was a mutant, took forever to kill." Hez Zhang Ya, heir of the Heng Shui Corporation, smugly saying, "My floor's completely cleared." Zhang Ya eyes the bullet-marked walls, regretting, all blown apart. "I even wanted to count my kills." He grabs his radio, boasting, "Hey M5%, announce me as first place already." M5% hesitates and replies, "You'd better check the floor above." Fuming, Zhang Ya climbs up, cursing, "Why not me? Who could be stronger? I even hired my own bodyguards for training." Upon arrival, he finds others from different floors standing silently, staring ahead, puzzled by the scene. Zhang Ya irritably asks, "Why aren't you back on your floors?" One answers weakly, "We can't, it's not over." Zhang Ya snaps, "Then what are you waiting for?" The man points ahead, trembling. The zombies from 10 floors above were all wiped out by him. Zhang Ya steps in and freezes, his face turning pale in horror. Inside, thousands of corpses and mutant zombies lie dead. Atop the pile sits Yan Zhen calmly, his proud gaze chilling Zhang Ya as he realizes even the mutant boss was slain by him. While Yan Zhen rests, the system coldly announces, "Gained 2 points, total usable points, 4. Zhang Ya, still stunned, realizes he wiped everything out barehanded in minutes. The more he thinks, the paler he turns, drenched in sweat. In the control room, M5% punches a pillar in fury upon seeing Yan Zhen's face on screen, eyes burning with hatred. He clenches his fists, growling inwardly. I underestimated him. His strength might reach a third of mine. But let's see him handle what's next. Without hesitation, M5% orders sharply, "Release it." His subordinate obeys immediately. As Yan Zhen rests, a strange sound at the window behind him makes him tense up. He frowns suspiciously. "What's out there?" Looking out, he sees a winged creature diving toward him with ferocious killing intent. Before he can react, the monster smashes through the window, grazing his face. Glass shards fly as its claws stop inches away. The impact cracks the wall, dust and smoke filling the air, shaking the entire floor. M5% watches on screen, grinning triumphantly. Too bad, no matter how strong you are, first place still belongs to young Master Zhang of the 3rd largest corporation. He schemes silently. If I make that young master win, he'll surely be promoted to full captain. His ambition gleams in his eyes. But suddenly his expression changes to shock. Because Yan Zhen has blocked the elite level 4 mutant corpse's devastating punch barehanded, standing firm without flinching. M5% frowns, muttering intently, he blocked that hit. What a monster. The mutant corpse roars violently, the sound wave tearing at human eardrums. The sonic blast disorients even Yan Zhen, making him grit his teeth and tense his body. The shockwave hurls him backward. He coughs blood, breathing hard in agony. Wiping the blood, Yan Zhen thinks warily. So it's not just brute strength. He glances at Zhang Ya, who's trembling in panic nearby. Zhang Ya pulls a small case from his pocket. It's the soundproof earpiece M5% told him to use to resist the creature's roar. Yan Zhen quickly snatches the case, saying firmly, "Let me borrow this," then fires at the ceiling with precise accuracy. Before Zhang Ya can react, Yanzhen vanishes, leaving him stammering, He's gone! In the control room, M5% laughs arrogantly, convinced Yanzhen's dead. At that range, the roar would burst a human head. Even with earplugs, it's useless. But seeing the feed, unease creeps in the man's speed rivals his own acceleration weapon. The mutant corpse circles the building, claws scraping walls, sensing for movement. It emits energy pulses, pinpointing Yanzhen's hidden location. Instantly, the winged beast dives toward him at terrifying speed. Yanzhen stays silent, concealed behind the wall, waiting for the perfect strike. Suddenly, the sonic zombie has already climbed the wall, grinning wickedly. It opens its mouth and roars, the sound echoing like thunder. The deafening roar shatters every window and cracks the walls, debris flying everywhere. Bricks crumble and fall, creating a dangerously chaotic scene. Pulled out just in time by M5%, Zhang Ya collapses, gasping, almost died there, thanks for the save. M5% smirks arrogantly, the whole building's wrecked, that guy must be dead. M5% tilts his chin proudly, even I couldn't survive that close, let alone him. He holds up his phone, linked to a live drone feed of the site. As the smoke clears, only the sonic zombie hovers mid-air, scanning for Yanzhen. Seeing no sign of him, M5% exhales in relief, thinking smugly. As expected, dead, his face relaxing. The sonic zombie looks down at the ruined building below. But as it turns, a powerful punch slams into its side. The impact sends the giant creature spiraling down, crashing headfirst onto the rooftop with a thunderous explosion. Before it can recover, a dark figure descends from above Yanzhen, falling like a reaper from the sky. He lands hard, stomping the monster's body, making it writhe and scream in agony. A gaping bullet hole marks its head, thick blood oozing as its breathing fades. Yanzhen coldly steps on its face, mocking, "Steel armor under your skin? No wonder 12.7mm rounds couldn't pierce." The creature sneers weakly, but the smirk vanishes as a gun barrel presses to its face. Yanzhen says coldly, "Let's test this one." He fires repeatedly until the monster's head bursts. The system chimes, mutant zombie eliminated. Gained 2 points. Total usable points, 3. Zhang Ya and M5% stare at the screen in shock. M5% shouts, He killed it! Zhang Ya stammers, trembling. Its head's blown apart, and he's still calmly firing. M5% reels in disbelief, thinking wildly, impossible. Even dodging the shockwave, he should be injured. How's he unscathed? Because of the headset? He frowns in suspicion. That kind of earplug can't block such sonic power. What model is he using? Failing to figure it out, M5% yanks his hair, screaming, "What the hell is going on?" Zhang Ya stands frozen, staring at the ruined building, mind blank, unable to comprehend what just happened. Suddenly, footsteps sound behind him. Yanzhen has appeared right there. A chill runs down Zhang Ya's spine as dread grips him. He turns around, face pale as death. Yanzhen calmly holds out the headset. Yours. It's now upgraded 90% noise reduction. This version blocks roars and cancels shockwaves. Zhang Ya turns green, waving frantically. No, brother, it's yours. Mine was just a cheap earplug. I can't take your premium one. Yanzhen leaves the building and rests against a lamppost outside a cafe, eyes distant and thoughtful. Suddenly, a familiar voice calls from behind. He turns to see Baozi smiling awkwardly beside an old motorcycle, explaining he borrowed the captain's blast-proof bike to pick him up. Baozi hands over the phone and says he left the keys, pass card, and some pocket money in the bike's trunk, so Yanzhen needn't return to the dorm. Yanzhen eyes him warily, noting Baozi's sudden sweetness and thinking him two-faced. Without more words, he hops on and asks where the Fang family building is. Baozi says it's in the city center, the tallest there, surrounded by open land. Baozi warns sternly not to approach the Fang fence guards shoot perceived threats on sight. Yanzhen is slightly surprised. Their defense is that strict? Baozi explains carefully that after the assassination 5 years ago that killed Fang Danbo, Fang Hao took power and tightened security, so he should be cautious. With needed intel obtained, Yanzhen drives off, planning his next moves. He thinks besides looting supplies to upgrade, he must assess the Fang family's strength, know the enemy to win. He recalls trying to upgrade Gloria into a strategic unit, only to be told the system forbids upgrading mutants or humans below level 20. Moreover, from level 5 onward, kills of normal zombies yield few points. He must gather data from higher-tier mutants. Hearing that, Yan Zhen feels weary. He wouldn't have infiltrated the anti-mutate squad without intelligence motives. Riding past a weapons shop, his eyes light up. He brakes hard, turns back, and stops in front of the store, curiosity piqued. Seeing the shop sign, he grins. Nice, this is promising. He enters enthusiastically and declares the place wonderful. Inside, countless weapons of all styles and grades line the walls, overwhelming him. Has amazed that such gear is rare even in the inner city. Excited, he thinks this is a man's paradise. Buying a few upgrades will boost his combat power. He slams the counter and commands, "Bring all heavy weapons, fill this place in 1 minute." The owner studies him from head to toe, silent for a few beats. A minute later, he's kicked out. Rolling on the ground, the owner snarls that his few coins don't earn him boasting, and Yan Zhen sighs at the memorable lesson. Luckily, he still buys a few items. Prices shock him after living outside, but the owner sells some equipment. He eyes a suppressor and nods, thinking it'll let him fire at range without much noise. Thinking so, he raised his binoculars to observe from afar, rifle on his shoulder, ready to fire. In the distance stood the Fang family's building, surrounded by heavy armed forces tanks, helicopters, even bombers above a true forbidden zone. He frowned slightly, murmuring, "Such heavy armament, not to be underestimated." On the roof, several corpse soldiers patrolled the Fang family's elite guards, all level 6, their aura thickening the air. He calculated, just guards yet 1 level higher than me. No wonder they've held power for years. Then he tied a blue cloth around his arm, set down his backpack, mounted his rifle, eyes cold. Since I'm here, I won't leave empty-handed. Putting on his special helmet, Yan Zhen pulled the trigger. The first shot rang sharply toward the Fang family building. Right after, he jumped onto a massive warcraft nearby, intending to collect it. But the system warned coldly, unable to absorb warcraft. Level 15 required to unlock. Undeterred, he turned to a tank, sighing. This one should be easier. Yet the machine replied, unable to absorb. Level 10 required. 2 levels short, Yan Zhen slammed the tank's hull, grinning. Then he'll lure a corpse soldier for experience points. As expected, the noise alerted a nearby corpse soldier, its eyes turning wary. Yan Zhen nodded with satisfaction. Good, bait taken. He carried his gun and moved to a wider area to avoid being surrounded. Without hesitation, he fired. Gunshots cracked sharply. The bullet flew straight and fast, perfectly accurate. At the same time, the corpse soldier accelerated, closing in within seconds. Turning back, Yan Zhen was startled. The corpse soldier was right behind, sword flashing down. He reacted instantly, rolling forward to dodge narrowly, thinking, so fast, almost hit me. Its speed rivals my own blink shot. Yan Zhen glanced at the blade, worried. If I keep saving points, I'll die for real. He opened his hand, summoning a long sword, and began upgrading. Green light engulfed him as the system announced coldly, upgrade successful, level 8. 3 points consumed, points remaining, 0. When the light faded, the slender sword had become a massive blade radiating killing intent. He readied his stance as the corpse soldier roared forward. He raised his blade to block the first strike, metal clashing harshly, then counterattacked, spinning and slashing hard at the enemy's head. The slash left a visible crack, but the corpse soldier was barely scratched. He frowned, its helmet so thick even bullets can't pierce. They kept clashing, blades and swords sparking fiercely, the noise deafening. Yan Zhen spun his blade once, then struck hard at the corpse soldier. The enemy failed to dodge, sent flying and crashing down. The blow shattered its iron helmet, revealing one glowing, eerie eye. In an instant, the corpse soldier's face twisted into a massive skull, roaring savagely. Yan Zhen stepped back warily. Clearly a modified human, yet it emits a violent corpse aura. Before finishing, He gathered strength and delivered a finishing strike, his blade piercing straight through the corpse soldier's head. The system announced, corpse soldier eliminated, gained 1 upgrade point. Yanjin smiled, panting. Good experience from this type. But immediately, 2 more corpse soldiers charged in, 1 level 7, 1 level 8, their aura fierce like predators. Sensing the ambush, he leapt high, grabbing a weapon from the ground. As he landed, he barely raised his sword to block 2 simultaneous slashes, the blade glowing from the intense clash. The impact made his hands tremble, wrists nearly breaking. Even so, he thought calmly, their attack power has doubled compared to normal ones. After several failed assaults, the 2 corpse soldiers moved tactically, flanking him from both sides. Seeing the danger, Yanjin swiftly drew his handgun. As one corpse soldier lunged and swung downward, he managed to raise his blade to block, the clash ringing in his ears. At the same time, the other attacked from the side, aiming to finish him with a sneak slash. Yanjin stayed calm, turned and fired. The bullet pierced the attacker's head as he said coldly, "One shot won't kill, but it'll slow you enough for me to finish the other." As the wounded corpse soldier fell, Yanjin quickly shifted focus, channeling all strength against the remaining foe, eyes resolute. The corpse soldier charged fiercely. Yanjin swept his gun aside, grabbed its leg, and slammed it hard to the ground. He pinned the creature's neck under his foot. Then he used his retrieval skill to call back the gun. Yanjin aimed the barrel at the enemy's head. He pulled the trigger without hesitation, the bullet ending the creature instantly. The system announced, corpse guard eliminated, gained 1 upgrade point. Then it listed loot, iron armor, Keva undersuit, corpse soldier core. Yanjin was thrilled that despite 50 kg armor, they were still agile. He also leveled up to 10, eager to test the new skill. The new skill, Enslave Violent Corpse, allowed turning a dying foe into a servant by spending 1 evolution point unless it was stronger. Suddenly, a sword thrust straight toward him. Yanjin dodged sideways, avoiding the surprise attack. They clashed fiercely, metals striking in rapid succession. Finally, he swung horizontally, neatly decapitating the enemy. The corpse guard's HP dropped to 18%, qualifying for enslavement. Soon after, another group of corpse soldiers arrived. Yanjin smiled calmly and charged into battle. Weapon clashes echoed through the mountains. After the chaos, he slew all corpses, gaining continuous upgrade points, 7 in total. His body glowed brightly upon reaching level 9. The system noted his servant limit was full level 20 needed for more. He planned to keep his current squad until finding stronger corpses, but suddenly a chill down his spine made him alert. From behind, a powerful creature with terrifying aura approached. Turning around, Yanjin saw a skull-level violent corpse boss, the Fang family's heavy cavalry captain, clad in full iron armor, eyes glowing red with killing intent. He wondered in surprise. Heavy cavalry? Don't ride horses anymore, but motorcycles now? The boss suddenly drew a massive gun from its back and aimed at him. Yanjin realized in shock that heavy meant mechanized combat, then was immediately fired upon. He swiftly moved to dodge the bullets, avoiding penetration. While counterattacking, he advanced toward the Fang residence, seeking better position. Bullets streaked through the air like lightning. He skillfully landed atop a tank, maintaining steady footing. Placing his hand on it, he activated the retrieval skill, seized control of the tank, and received a notice. Armor and firepower, plus 50%, Pubba's 1 upgrade point. He glanced at the nearby fighter jet, regretting not having enough points to claim it, too. When the boss reached the tank's location, it found the vehicle had vanished. Leaving the Fang compound, Yanjin walked leisurely, pleased with his loot, a level 10 guard, enhanced tank, and 5 upgrade points. Suddenly, he activated his sensing skill, spending energy to detect someone hiding in the bushes. He raised his gun, warning coldly, "Come out, I see you." The figure revealed was Nan Yu, calmly stepping out with a teasing, charming smile about his sharpness. Yanjin approached, suspicious. "You were following me?" Nan Yu admitted casually. He frowned, eyes sharp. "Since when have you been tracking me?" She leaned slightly, smiling seductively. saying she meant no harm, only goodwill. Yanjin, puzzled, pressed, "What goodwill?" Nan Yu's tone turned firm as she declared her intent to help Yanjin overthrow the Fang family. Yanjin waved dismissively, confused a bodyguard speaking betrayal. If dissatisfied, she could just leave, not involve him. Nan Yu replied resolutely, believing he was the only one capable of changing the situation and toppling the Fang Clan. She then led Yanjin to a desolate graveyard filled with tombstones, its gloomy scene making him question her purpose. Staring at one stone, she said this place would let him feel the burning hatred she held toward the Fang family. When Yanjin asked whose grave it was, Nan Yu gritted her teeth and replied bitterly, "My sea of blood vengeance." She began recounting the past. 10 years ago, when the corpse disaster erupted, the Fang family seized control of the entire city. They looted all nearby supplies, leaving outsiders to starve until they begged to enter the city. These people were forced to accept the Fang's terms hard labor for food and submission to the corpse transformation process. Those who passed the tests were turned into corpse soldiers to fight outside the city. High achievers were promoted and allowed better living inside. Nan Yu spoke through pain. Yanjin interrupted, curious because it sounded somewhat reasonable. She lowered her head, voice trembling, revealing the cruel truth. All modified corpse soldiers eventually died miserably, none ever returned. She spoke of her brother, Nan Feng, once an outstanding corpse soldier who only wanted safety for them until disaster struck. When preparing to join the guard squad, Nan Feng suddenly vomited blood, his body mutating. His body convulsed, veins turned eerie green, and his pained eyes stared at the blood pooling in his hands. Seconds later, Nan Feng lost all control, fangs growing long as he became a ferocious, inhuman monster. His skin twisted grotesquely, fully transforming as he rampaged, attacking everyone nearby. Nan Yu's voice sank with hatred. "The guards claimed my brother exploded attacking HQ, forced to kill him, leaving me only this dog tag." She clenched her fists, trembling with pain, saying even his body was gone, only a memorial tag remained. At that moment, Yanjin activated the insight skill, consuming mental energy to scan the area. He discovered beneath the grave a real dog tag engraved with the name Nan Feng. On it, faint words remained, "Guard Captain." Yanjin reasoned that if one dog tag of a pair remained, the other might still be with Nan Feng's body, meaning he hadn't fully perished. He suddenly realized something shocking, as if uncovering an anomaly. Unaware, Nan Yu gently placed her hand on the tombstone, tearfully saying she had investigated and found the Fang family's cover-up. The truth: when corpse soldiers overuse corpse energy or corpse arts, toxins corrode them, turning them into violent corpses. The Fang family controls this, using them as killing tools. Thus, any corpse soldier who resists the Fang family is trapped in a deadly cycle without escape. Nan Yu pressed her hand on the stone, voice filled with hatred. "The more we resist, the faster we lose humanity, becoming slaves to those we despise." Yanjin replied calmly, half believing her but still unsure why she placed her hopes on him. Nan Yu met his eyes firmly, saying she had watched all his battles, a man, not a corpse soldier, yet continually growing stronger, the only one immune to the violent corpse curse. Yanjin fell silent, eyes thoughtful and wary. At the Fang mansion, a man stood before a glass window, laughing arrogantly. "These lowborns always want to kill me." That man was City Lord Shu Guangfang now, smirking that none would suspect he wasn't inside the heavily guarded building. Afterward, a subordinate respectfully reported last night's assassination attempt and awaited orders. Fang now coldly asked where the commander Aoni was. The subordinate bowed and softly replied that she was guarding the northern gate due to the emergence of an extremely dangerous A-rank boss. Fang Nao's expression immediately tensed upon hearing about the northern boss. To the north, a tank was bombarding the front line non-stop. Shells screamed through the air like a storm of steel. From the smoke and shell fire, a massive monster emerged, its body covered in spikes, head sunken like a giant open maw awaiting prey. Suddenly, the tank halted mid-battle. Soldiers around panicked, shouting that the system had overloaded and could no longer fire. A deep voice behind them calmly remarked, "This cannon's for anti-air use, no wonder it's useless on the ground." The soldiers turned and saluted. The newcomer was Wu Fengcheng, vice captain of System Squad 10, who once oversaw the selection Yan Zhen joined. He confidently drew his greatsword, declaring he'd slay the boss himself. Moments later, the ground split open with a massive crack, rocks and dust exploding outward. A gigantic creature crawled beneath the earth, nearing the wall and terrifying the soldiers above. One soldier shouted, hoping it would hit a buried mine. At that instant, a thunderous explosion erupted as the creature struck the mine. From the blast, the monster surfaced an A-rank corpse puppet called Blood Worm, grotesque in form. As it lifted its head, a blade flashed toward it. Wu Fengcheng unleashed his ultimate art, Corpse Technique, 5%, slicing the bloodworm cleanly in half. The creature's huge body crashed down, shaking the ground violently. Wu Fengcheng stood proudly by the corpse, declaring that with more merit he'd seize the captain's position. The soldiers above stared in awe. He'd cleaved a mountain-sized beast with one stroke. Another calmly explained that his skill came from his father's trade, a master butcher who could split any meat with perfect precision. After becoming a corpse soldier, Wu Fengcheng refined that craft into his signature killing art. But then, the bisected bloodworm began regenerating, its body grotesquely fusing back together. Wu Fengcheng frowned, realizing it wasn't dead. He inhaled deeply, focusing all strength for the next strike. In a flash, he swung again, unleashing Corpse Technique, 5% with even greater ferocity. The monster's body was split again, two halves clinging together hideously like a grotesque sandwich. Two soldiers above discussed curiously that this was a corpse puppet born from violent corpses, lacking human shape. Another added nervously that few ever regenerated like this, making everyone uneasy. Wu Fengcheng gripped his sword tightly, eyes locked on the bloodworm. He stated firmly, "No matter where its core is, if I shatter it, it dies," then leapt high, slashing downward violently. Suddenly, the bloodworm's head shot up, its giant maw lunging toward him. Wu Fengcheng froze, horrified by its rapid regeneration. Before he could react, the monster bit off his upper body, blood spraying everywhere. His remaining half was trapped in its jaws, a gruesome sight that made onlookers shudder. After devouring him, the bloodworm lifted its head, crawling up the fortress wall, targeting two trembling soldiers. The pair screamed in panic, unable to reload or ready their weapons in time. But instead of attacking them, the monster turned and crushed the formation control station. A soldier realized its intent, panicking that it was targeting the fire control hubs. The bloodworm continued moving, deliberately destroying each formation post one by one. It crawled along the fortress wall, toppling the entire defense system, leaving only one last station guarded by a lone soldier. That soldier fired desperately, knowing if this post fell, the north gate would collapse. Bullets rained but couldn't pierce its thick hide. The monster advanced relentlessly. The soldier screamed for help as the bloodworm opened its maw to swallow him. Suddenly, the creature's head was cleaved in two by a mighty strike. The soldier froze, stunned by what just happened. He saw the weapon that split the monster, a colossal hammer spinning through the air. Looking closer, he gaped. The hammer had been weapon amplified, enlarged tenfold to unleash such devastating power. Amazed, the soldier turned to ask who had unleashed that earth-shaking blow. When he looked again, he saw it was a woman radiating commanding presence. She was the captain of Guard Squad 10N in Onsen, who coldly ordered, "Kid, hand me your energy rifle." But soon after, the bloodworm regenerated again, its body restoring as if uninjured. Locking onto its new target, it roared and lunged toward NN, who calmly aimed and fired energy rounds at its weak points, advancing fearlessly. The two surviving soldiers hid behind the wall. One trembled, asking why they were hiding. The other replied flatly it was to avoid the captain's stray shots. The curious one peeked out, noting that gunfire wasn't effective on this boss. Only heavy artillery could hurt it as the bloodworm charged madly at NN. NN stayed composed, smiling slightly. Good. Now it's focused on me. As the monster neared, she swiftly retreated to evade the strike. Instantly, she activated the corpse art weapon amplification on her rifle. The gun expanded massively, aimed directly at the bloodworm, brimming with dense energy. Nan leaned aside and squeezed the trigger with full force. A thunderous blast erupted, launching a gigantic shell like a cannon. The bloodworm's upper body was torn apart, flesh and blood scattering everywhere. It howled and tried to flee, but was bombarded by thousands of energy bullets, its body exploding piece by piece. When the ammo finally ran out, the massive rifle went silent. Nan stood still, calmly watching the aftermath, then shrank her weapon back to normal size. Before her lay the bloodworm's shattered corpse, blackened flesh scattered across the ground, the stench of burnt meat filling the air. The two soldiers stared wide-eyed, stammering if that thing still counted as a gun or had become heavy artillery. After the battle, NN approached the barely breathing Wu Fengcheng and asked softly, "You all right? Has the wound healed yet?" His lower body was slowly regenerating, green veins writhing grotesquely. Wu Fengcheng scowled in frustration that the boss had been slain before he could finish it himself. He gritted his teeth, cursing inwardly in rage that NN had stolen his credit right before his eyes. The tense atmosphere was broken by NN's phone ringing. She answered calmly while Wu Fengcheng muttered enviously beside her, threatening to take her captain's seat someday. NN simply said into the phone, "I'm on my way." Hanging up, she turned and left without another word, prompting Wu Fengcheng to shout angrily, "Ignoring me again, you arrogant woman!" Minutes later, in the Fang family surveillance room, screams rang out. A technician reported that all recordings from the key areas had disappeared. On the screen, only a faint image of a masked figure remained. The technician confirmed every other camera's data had been erased, leaving only this thief's image. Elsewhere, Yanzhen was surrounded by 3 massive corpse puppets moving in tactical formation. He realized this was the group Nan Yu had warned him about and immediately heightened his alert. One beast lunged first, jaws of steel snapping toward Yanzhen with deadly ferocity. Unlike before, Yanzhen didn't dodge but moved deliberately, light flashing and metal clashing loudly. It turned out to be one of his controlled corpse soldiers, who sliced the beast in half and loyally guarded its master. Yanzhen calmly walked away, leaving the rest to his servant, instructing it to handle the weaker ones. The corpse soldier gave a thumbs up in acknowledgement. Then Yanzhen used his teleportation art, flying through the forest and landing lightly on a tree branch. 5 hours earlier, Yanzhen had secretly met Nan Yu, who said she had delayed his arrival to the anti-violence department. Curious, Yanzhen asked about the strategic ranking system, and Nan Yu explained clearly. From S down to E, each rank split into sub-tiers like SS, S+, SA. He pondered, realizing their hierarchy was more refined, with some mismatch between equivalent levels. By their scale, a 5% warrior ranked around D using full corpse energy could reach B, but few advanced more than 2 ranks since overuse turned them into violent corpses. Nan Yu added that the strongest units, the Spirit Defense and Anti-Violence divisions, peaked at A+. However, there was one exceptional woman with extreme corpse toxin resistance, constantly breaking limits so much that the central lab couldn't determine her maximum. Yanzhen asked if she was the strongest. Nan Yu smiled seductively, saying she was Fang Ao's personal guard, rumored to be a true S rank. Thus, this anti-violent corpse mission served as a test of Yanzhen's real strength. Back to the present, Yanzhen stood on the branch, smirking mockingly. "Testing iron and stone, huh?" He jumped down into a deep pit in the forest, cautiously heading into a dark cave. Suddenly, strange sounds echoed from within. Focusing, Yanzhen realized it was the rhythmic beat of drums echoing through the cave. Following the sound, he saw the path littered with decayed skulls, a chilling sight. A huge drum gradually appeared as he went deeper. In front of it stood a horned corpse monster holding a strange drumstick. It was the great corpse musician boss corpse monster Levy, who eagerly asked Yanzhen if he came to hear his performance. Yanzhen watched it warily, shocked it could talk as Gloria had mentioned. Without hesitation, he drew his gun and fired, showing his intent to fight. The corpse monster struck back fiercely, its drum beats roaring. Yan Zhen's vision blurred, and he fell into a dizzy illusion. Cheering erupted around him, crowds screaming the name Lu Yuehua. When he regained clarity, he found himself at the concert he once missed, confused if it was real or not. Before he could react, a hand grabbed his. It was Nan Yu with an intimate gaze. While he was bewildered, Nan Yu lifted his hand, urging him to join the excitement. In the distance, the corpse monster kept drumming, its sound irritating Yan Zhen. His body lost control, moving under the rhythm's enchantment. He shouted, "Damn it, have fun then!" and kept dancing madly. Over 10 hours passed, yet his body kept dancing non-stop. Beside him, an illusion of Enslaving also danced wildly. While dancing, exhausted Yan Zhen wondered how long he'd been trapped. Sweating and gasping, he was still controlled by the drum beats. Suddenly, he remembered a way to save himself the noise-canceling earphones. He hurriedly took out the earphones he'd taken from the Treng young master, filled with hope. Struggling to move his hands, he tried to put them on. But before he could, the drum beats struck harder, breaking his effort. His body threw the earphones away and kept dancing amid the frenzied cheers. Yan Zhen turned pale, drained, fearing death from exhaustion. He pressed his head to the ground, desperately reaching for the fallen earphones. Just a bit more, he strained to reach them. But his strength failed and his consciousness faded into darkness. As he was about to faint, another hand suddenly picked up the earphones, waking him. It was Gloria, smiling arrogantly at his miserable state. She mocked how the once heroic Yan Zhen had become a worn-out mess, teasing him mercilessly. Yan Zhen shouted angrily, explaining he was under an illusion spell, while Gloria just laughed playfully. Gloria smiled softly, put the earphones on him, and told him to endure and help her get revenge no matter what. As soon as the earphones were on, a brilliant light flashed before Yan Zhen's eyes. He realized he was lying face down while the drum-wielding monster advanced, full of killing intent. It leaned down to drain his spiritual energy. Suddenly, a gun appeared in Yan Zhen's hand. He immediately pulled the trigger, the bullet piercing from the monster's chin through its skull perfectly. The corpse monster collapsed, struggling miserably. Yan Zhen panted, leaning against the rock wall, feeling grateful for Gloria's earlier help. A sudden noise made him look around cautiously. He was shocked to see the monster he'd shot rise again from the water. Yan Zhen jumped up, staring warily at the revived creature. He quickly guessed it might be a clone or a rare resurrection technique. Before he could speak, the monster swung a fierce strike toward him. The drumbeat erupted, shaking the entire cave violently. The immense force cracked the ground, sending debris tumbling into the abyss. The monster laughed arrogantly, believing it had won. But its smile quickly vanished, replaced by horror. It looked down to find its chest pierced by a fatal sword. Trembling, it turned to see who attacked. Before it could see clearly, the sword struck again, cleaving it in two. The attacker was Yan Zhen's loyal corpse soldier, who withdrew his sword and stepped back respectfully. Hidden behind the rock, Yan Zhen observed safely thanks to the noise-canceling earphones, realizing they blocked most of the enchantment but not completely. He also deduced the enemy still had another clone. He decisively activated his sensing skill, muttering, "I must find the true body before finishing it off." He searched the cave carefully for traces. Finally spotting the true body hidden deep in a narrow crevice, he smiled. "Found you," Yan Zhen shouted. "Fang now! Finish it!" At his command, a figure dashed out as explosions echoed through the cave. Metal clashed violently, and the battle raged fiercely. Suddenly, an object was flung from the fight and rolled across the ground. When it stopped near his feet, Yan Zhen saw it clearly, the severed head of his corpse soldier, leaving him stunned. During the battle, the monster had killed his soldier and laughed wickedly. Thick black energy surged around the monster, making Yan Zhen shudder at its true power. He recalled asking Nan Yu about this boss's level. She had hesitated, clearly fearful. At that time, he had doubted her, thinking she exaggerated. But now, facing the real form, he believed her words terrified. he instantly upgraded to level 20, spending 6 points and leaving 3. The system voice announced unlocking advanced combat mode, granting the passive skills super discount to reduce upgrade cost and hidden gear to conceal weapons and armor. His physique was greatly enhanced. As the upgrade completed, the monster charged like a bullet, throwing a devastating punch at him. Yan Shen reacted swiftly, dodging aside as the punch shattered the stone floor. Taking advantage of the gap, Yan Zhen drew his gun and fired rapidly at the monster. The gunfire roared, but the bullets were useless. The creature's skin was steel-hard, blocking the shots easily. He aimed for its head, but the bullets strangely veered off, only grazing its ear. Within seconds, the monster closed in, then suddenly stopped, giving Yan Zhen a chance to strike from behind. He seized the moment, pulling the trigger repeatedly as bullets exploded against its back. Yet its flesh remained unscathed, bulletproof like armor. Yan Zhen grew worried, thinking he had aimed precisely at its weak points, so why wasn't it working? Confused mid-battle, he noticed something odd, a strange sound mixed in the air. He paused to analyze and realized the creature's stomps emitted interference, distorting his aim by about 10%. As he deduced this, the monster smirked arrogantly, knowing even small distortion could ruin his accuracy. Suddenly, the corpse soldier's figure vanished from sight. It reappeared right before him, throwing a lightning-fast punch, barely dodged in time. Horrified by its speed, Yan Zhen saw it snap its fingers, creating another wave of noise. The sonic waves hit his ears, paralyzing his body. Cold sweat streamed down his face. The monster immediately punched his stomach with brutal force. The whole cave shook as Yan Zhen was flung into a rock wall in immense pain. The impact left a crater. His gun and earphones shattered. Struggling up, he groaned, almost dodged it. But the noise messed my senses. Earphones broken, still no idea of its true level. He hesitated, should he spend his remaining 3 upgrade points to strengthen himself or repair the earphones? Without blocking the noise, defeat was certain. Frustration with the system grew. Suddenly, an idea flashed through his mind. Wait, I still have 2 items that reduce noise. What if I combine them? As he thought, the corpse soldier charged again, throwing a deadly punch. The strike came within inches of his face, but Yan Zhen tilted his head just in time. But the monster emitted another sonic wave, freezing him mid-motion. It kicked him to the ground, shattering rocks and sending dust flying. Amid triumphant laughter, it dove down to deliver the final blow. The ground was covered in thick dust, obscuring vision completely. The corpse soldier emitted noise again, channeling all its power toward Yan Zhen's position. As the sonic wave reached him, it dove to strike the killing blow. But this time, Yan Zhen was unaffected. He punched straight into its jaw, stunning it as blood spurted from the monster's mouth in agony. Yan Zhen's punch sent the creature crashing into the cave ceiling, the impact shaking the entire chamber violently. Its body was stuck to the stone ceiling, unable to fall, looking utterly pitiful. Yan Zhen looked up with a triumphant grin without the noise interference. His attack power had doubled. The corpse soldier was utterly confused, not understanding why its noise ability failed. The reason was Yan Zhen had used upgrade points to enhance his sound-canceling device, a brilliant move. By combining the noise-canceling earphones and the silencer module, he upgraded them into the absolute silence field generator, spending 2 points to create a 2-meter soundproof zone that blocked all sound in or out. He now understood Nan Yu's words. Without soundproof tech, entering here was suicide. Yet despite being restrained, the corpse soldier stubbornly refused to retreat. After a few seconds of recovery, it charged again, unleashing violent punches and kicks. But now its noise ability no longer worked. Every snap produced silence, boosting Yan Zhen's confidence. In contrast, the monster grew increasingly panicked and fearful. Seizing the moment, Yan Zhen rushed forward with a barrage of precise strikes. Stripped of its sound attack, the corpse soldier quickly fell into disadvantage, bloodied and unable to resist within the silent field. The system chimed just as Yan Zhen delivered the final blow, his condensed power erupting violently. The monster was hurled hundreds of meters away, its body crashing deep into the cave. The impact caused a massive explosion, scattering debris and smoke everywhere. The system announced, Boss Form 1 defeated. Reward, 5 upgrade points. Total points available, 6. Yanjin frowned in confusion. He muttered, Reward mid-battle. Could there really be a second form? The system replied coldly, Unlocked. Absolute silence domain. Suddenly, the monster's entire body emitted eerie noise waves from both its arms and legs. Each limb produced disturbing, chaotic rhythms. Yanjin analyzed that the enemy, realizing its sonic illusion was useless, was activating a different skill. But when he saw it sitting cross-legged to cast dark word polyphonic ritual, his face turned pale, sensing imminent danger. No one knew what terrifying technique the monster was about to unleash. Sensing the escalating danger, Yanjin decided to upgrade fully to level 26, spending all 6 remaining points. The system granted passive skills chasing lightning bullets after flash move reach missile speed, and level break curve granting up to 3 extra points when defeating stronger foes. Also, all enemies defeated now had a chance to drop upgrade points. At the same time, the monster performed its own enhancement ritual, its body mutating grotesquely. An extra pair of eyes appeared and spikes sprouted across its limbs. The oppressive aura around it intensified, making the air heavy and suffocating. Yanjin watched the transformation anxiously. It had transferred its magic energy into its body, pushing itself to the extreme, and he was unsure how to respond. Within seconds, the monster's body completely transformed, doubling in size as its murderous aura cracked the surrounding rocks. The air in the cave grew so dense that Yanjin could barely breathe, feeling pressure crushing his chest. Suddenly, its figure vanished in a flash. A dark shadow appeared behind him, launching a lightning-fast punch. He dodged in time, but the creature's spiked arm grazed his face, leaving a deep cut laced with venomous pain. The wound darkened and spread quickly. The system warned, Alert! Your body is infected with corpse poison. Use upgrade points to purge it. Yanjin hesitated should he use points to detoxify or save them for battle. He knew spending them now meant no safety net later. He wavered, locking eyes with the arrogant monster. Then he saw its true level LV-35 corpse Great Soul Conductor. Though 9 levels higher, it was still within strategic reach. They clashed fiercely, exchanging relentless blows, forcing Yanjin into constant evasions. The battle gradually balanced both equal in strength, neither yielding. Realizing close combat was risky, he activated his special gun to retreat, firing continuously to maintain mid-range control. But the beast seemed to read his intent, its eyes flashing as if it foresaw his every move. The moment he followed the bullet's trajectory, the monster's form dissolved, displaying terrifying cunning. It reappeared beside the bullet's path, effortlessly pinching the projectile between its fingers, smirking as it prepared a counterstrike. Then it hurled the spatial bullet violently, its throw merciless and brutal. The object flew hundreds of meters, mirroring the earlier scene when Yanjin had flung it away, but now the roles were reversed. From that trajectory, Yanjin's body reappeared, slammed into the rear rock wall, shattering it and raising a cloud of dust. As the smoke cleared, he was seen kneeling on the ground, body trembling and breath ragged. He coughed blood, his remaining life force dropping below 1/3 death was near. Beaten and furious, he realized the enemy not only saw through his teleportation, but intercepted his bullet mid-flight, countering with terrifying precision. He wondered what kind of monstrous tier this boss belonged to, leaving him no escape but to fight to the death. He immediately assumed a defensive-offensive stance, channeling all willpower as both sides clashed in a relentless duel. Only blurred afterimages filled the battlefield, their collisions carving craters and scattering debris in a chaotic, terrifying scene. After a fierce exchange, Yanjin finally landed a powerful blow to the creature's head, but its skull was too hard without destroying its control core. He could only keep wearing it down. The mutant immediately counterattacked, slashing him mercilessly, even blocking. His health plummeted non-stop. He worried that once the poison counter maxed out, he'd die. His gun was useless in melee, and his Thunderfire spear had no space to deploy. He was cornered. The more it fought, the more excited the monster became, smirking with disdain and attacking confidently. While defending frantically, Yanjin thought fast he couldn't fall here, not when the end was near. As his HP dropped, he recalled the muscle power Gloria had given him and conceived an idea. Instead of channeling that force into throwing the spear, what if he focused it into close combat strikes? He reviewed all his abilities, planning a risky move, dodging while determining the exact moment to trigger the muscle boost usable only once. Gathering all his energy into one final punch, he treated it as a deadly spear thrust, channeling power to the utmost limit. His punch flared with blinding lightning, carrying every ounce of strength left as he roared and struck without hesitation. The blow slammed straight into the monster's face, his gaze unwavering, the force so immense that its steel-like skull cracked open horrifically. The creature's cold features twisted grotesquely, shattering like a broken statue. Its massive body was hurled hundreds of meters away, exploding violently and shaking the entire area. The system's dry voice declared the boss defeated, granting 10 upgrade points as its corpse shattered into disgusting pieces. At that moment, Yanjin felt his body falter. The venom spread rapidly through his veins, making him dizzy. Looking down, he saw his skin darken as the poison overtook his limbs. Trembling, he realized the toxin counter was about to max out. He had to level up immediately. Golden light enveloped him within the cave as his evolution pushed his level to 35, purging the corpse poison and consuming 9 points, leaving 1 remaining. The cold system voice continued, announcing the new skill, Bullet Enhancement. Each shot consumes 3 spirit points, with effects varying by ammo type. Normal bullets gain power, armor-piercing increase penetration, incendiary add burning, explosive. Widen blast range and light bullets cause illumination or blindness. Higher levels amplify all effects. With the battle over, he calmly left the cave, calculating as he walked, pleased that with 100 spirit points, he could fire up to 30 shots, satisfaction clear on his face. He also obtained the Corpse Repelling Stone, an item allowing temporary control over weak corpses at the cost of spirit energy per second. Mastery could upgrade the item. Holding the glowing stone, excitement filled him. This perilous adventure had truly been worth it. Suddenly, strange booming sounds echoed from afar, putting Yanjin on alert. Looking up, he saw fire rounds flying chaotically across the city, clear signs the entire city was under attack. The military scrambled to counter, tanks firing continuously as artillery shells bombarded the war zone. Through the radio, an enraged soldier cursed that the city's old cannons couldn't hold. The battlefield was overrun by corpse troops, and the Fang family's old battle machines were broken, urgently requesting high-level warrior support. Screams echoed through smoke and explosions. The battlefield was utter chaos. A newly launched missile was instantly destroyed by a dragon-type corpse soldier. The giant creature descended upon the city, its pressure making the air feel solid. A commander shouted for counterattack, ordering a desperate barrage of artillery fire. Watching the scene, one gunner despaired, cursing his meager pay while risking his life, lamenting that anti-air duty was supposed to be easy. Now he faced flying corpses, and his life was over. The dragon opened its jaws, spewing fire to burn the entire defense line below. But just as despair spread, a high-level corpse soldier appeared, turning the tide. That warrior slammed a massive hammer onto the dragon's head, then ignited the flames to burn it to ash. When the beast fell, silence overtook the battlefield. The tension lifted. A stunned soldier shouted, asking who their savior was. His comrade replied it was Meng Nan, an elite from the Special Ops, who had led hundreds of successful anti-corpse missions. He was one of the 10 elites, once alongside Bao Shan in slaying a B+ grade corpse, considered a second-tier powerhouse. The two soldiers embraced, overjoyed to have survived, shouting in relief. But before their joy settled, fresh blood splattered before them. They froze as Bao Shan's body was sliced in half, blood spraying everywhere. Terror overwhelmed them. The dragon corpse was still alive, using its razor tail to cleave Bao Shan apart, a horrifying sight leaving everyone speechless. Bao Shan stared blankly at his severed body, disbelief and fury filling his dying eyes. He had been so close to leveling up, only to be killed instantly. In rage, Bao Shan's body flared with golden light, his aura erupting like an inferno. He unleashed all his energy, going berserk in uncontrollable fury. Roaring in hatred, he cursed the monster for daring to humiliate him. Seconds later, his corpse transformation completed, his limbs encased in dense steel armor, his presence heavy and suffocating. Even with corrosion at 99%, he remained conscious and proud, knowing he stood on the brink between man and beast, but believing he could finish the battle before losing control. With that thought, Bao Shan instantly activated teleportation, vanishing and reappearing beneath the dragon's tail, gripping it tightly with a mocking grin, ridiculing the fact that he'd been defeated twice by the same move. Taking advantage of the monster's distraction, he swiftly closed in on its head with calculated precision. He charged forward, declaring there was no time to play around and he would send it to death immediately. His powerful punch smashed into the creature's face, crushing the dragon beast's skull under immense force. Without stopping, he unleashed a flurry of blows, each strike aiming to destroy everything. He then activated Corpse Art, Pomegranate Palm Level 2, creating a massive explosion that engulfed the sky in flames. Standing amid the inferno, he looked up at the destruction and smiled proudly. The monster bled heavily, spinning in the air before crashing down broken and exhausted. Bao Shan stood atop a skyscraper, gazing down arrogantly, convinced the creature was dead. Two soldiers in the distance gave thumbs up, amazed that he could channel corpse energy into bullets, calling him a human cannon. Others looked on with both admiration and envy, while one soldier chuckled in relief. He joked that with such a warrior around, he could relax and go fishing. After finishing the foe, Bao Shan turned away calmly as if the battle had ended. But after a few steps, a flash of green light behind made him freeze in unease. Before he could react, a jade-green fire pillar shot up from the ground, engulfing the area and him in blazing flames. The fire spread, covering the skyscraper with terrifying, destructive power. The dragon beast was still alive, hiding underground and waiting to strike back. With one breath of fire, it destroyed half the building and burned Bao Shan to charred remains. On the ground, only his intact head remained, witnessing the devastation. Bao Shan paled, realizing he couldn't regenerate corrosion at 99%. Using corpse energy would turn him into a rampaging corpse. Meanwhile, the monster fully recovered, soared up, and spewed another green flame toward him, leaving no escape. He could only stare at death approaching, silently accepting his fate. In his final thought, he preferred burning to becoming a monster. Better to die human than live as a corpse. The battle ended in tragedy and fire. Suddenly, a glowing object shot in from afar at incredible speed, stunning everyone. The monster was immediately drawn to it, eyes locked on the incoming light. Turning its head, it saw a powerful beam approaching, shaking the air with its aura. From within the light, Yanzhen appeared, standing tall and radiating fierce energy. He drew a small sword from its sheath, its blade flashing like lightning through the smoke. In less than a second, he unleashed hundreds of slashes. So fast, only streaks of light were visible. The monster's massive body was instantly shredded into countless pieces, blood splattering everywhere. The system announced, Corpse Flame Dragon Class B eliminated. Gained 2 level points. Current points. 3. Acquired Flame Core, consume 1 point to assign inheritance. The cold voice echoed through the smoke. Bao Shan froze, more shocked than when facing death, unable to believe what he couldn't defeat even in near-full corpse form was slain in an instant. The surrounding soldiers stood silent, gazing at Yanzhen with awe, exclaiming how terrifying his power was. He stood calmly beside the pit where the beast fell, his expression composed and aura steady. Inwardly, he thought his current blade lacked speed for combat and needed replacement. The sword he just used was found at Zhao Dis' place, who was still refining his skills. While he was lost in thought, a hoarse voice called from afar, filled with respect, "Hero!" He turned to see Bao Shan's severed head still moving on the ground. Surprised, he asked, "You're still alive?" Bao Shan weakly smiled, saying his abundant blood let him hang on a bit longer. Yanjin asked worriedly, "Should I take you to a hospital, or can you heal yourself?" Bao Shan shook his head faintly. "No need. We're different from rampaging corpses. Even a head can live, but my body's finished hospital won't help." He looked at Yanjin seriously, voice low. "I know I'm about to turn into a corpse monster, so please, end me. Don't let me lose control and harm others." His words carried both courage and despair. Yanjin stayed silent and opened the system panel. The notice read, "Target's life below 20%, eligible for level-up resurrection. Activate upgrade, permanently dissolve servitude state, fully restore body, and gain +1 level." A golden light surrounded Bao Shan's head, spreading over it until it exploded in brilliance. He was stunned to see his body regenerating. When the light faded, he leapt up, staring at his fully restored arms, shouting in ecstatic disbelief. "Unbelievable, my body's completely healed. Is this the Master's blessing?" His trembling voice mixed awe and gratitude. Bao Shan touched his lips, awkward and flustered, both embarrassed and wondering where his master had gone. Yanjin stood before the same weapon shop as before, heart pounding, atmosphere tense as a drawn bowstring. The shop owner recognized the poor kid from last time and scolded him harshly for pretending to buy everything. Yanjin's face turned cold, his threatening gaze intensifying the tension. He suddenly softened, speaking smoothly that he had valuable goods to sell if the price was fair, admitting he did it all for money. The owner grew suspicious, noting his guard-like uniform and doubting a rookie could afford such gear. The shopkeeper waved him off angrily, telling him to scram and stop wasting his time. Refusing to leave, Yanjin pressed a powerful Johann gun to the owner's face, angering him with such rudeness. Yanjin persistently coaxed the shopkeeper to buy, acting like a pushy salesman. The owner sneered, mocking that no matter how often he looked, the item was still mediocre. He glanced at the gun on the table, which was glowing unusually bright. The owner was shocked to see the supposedly ordinary weapon shine like a legendary treasure. He quickly changed attitude, politely asking to inspect Yanjin's gun. After checking, he offered a high price, apologizing and pretending he'd take a loss of 50,000. In truth, he schemed to modify it with rare parts and resell it for huge profit. Yanjin calmly raised the price further, angering the owner who shouted he'd rather die than be humiliated in business. Yanjin won the bargain, forcing the owner to pay 5 million and even offering more goods for sale. He inhaled the scent of money, savoring the moment of pure satisfaction. Suddenly, the shop door opened and someone entered, changing the atmosphere. The owner quickly smiled to greet the new guests. 3 men came in. The middle one, Fang Shu, a corpse soldier Class C+, arrived to collect protection fees with 2 Class B subordinates. The owner nervously urged Yanjin to leave, while he irritably questioned why protection fees were needed. Annoyed, he cursed the Fang family's nonsense. The owner panicked, fearing trouble, and told him to leave fast. Hearing that, Yanjin said nothing and silently turned toward the door. But as his hand touched the handle, someone stopped him abruptly. Fang Shu sneered provocatively, saying everyone who saw them must pay. Yanjin coldly replied, warning that soon Fang Shu would be kneeling and begging him instead. Fang Shu exploded in rage, cursing furiously at the insult. Seeing the tension, the shopkeeper stepped in, pleading to forgive Yanjin for being young and ignorant. Fang Shu arrogantly demanded 3 months of earnings and the shopkeeper's daughter to serve them. The owner begged desperately for mercy, pleading to spare his daughter and give him a way out. Fang Shu laughed wickedly, speaking obscenely, treating the abuse of women as amusement. Yanjin mocked coldly, saying he had judged the Fang family's rotten nature correctly. Fang Shu's tone turned harsh, clearly impatient. Pushed to his limit, Yanjin furiously cursed their despicable behavior. Fang Shuo went berserk, shouting for his men to deal with Yan Zhen immediately. The owner hurried to stop them, warning Yan Zhen was just human and couldn't endure a corpse soldier's strike. The henchman raised his fist menacingly, assuring cruelly that one punch would explode the head painlessly. He swung a powerful punch at Yan Zhen's face, bursting with fierce energy. Yan Zhen's whole body was thrown back, smashing into the wall behind, shattering it amid thick dust. Fang Shuo brushed off dust and sneered, scolding his man for damaging a place they'd used for collecting money. But on closer look, he saw the henchman trembling uncontrollably with a strange, uneasy expression, and he shouted to know why. The attacker broke into a cold sweat, panicking as he sensed something wrong from his punch. He looked at his bloodied hand, feeling something eerily unnatural. From within the thick smoke, an icy voice spoke about the feeling of being crushed by a higher rank. Yan Zhen emerged calm-faced, his cold gaze and oppressive aura suffocating everyone. The henchman grew more terrified, losing his mind and charging in desperation. Yan Zhen casually swung his hand, slicing him apart like swatting a mosquito, body torn to pieces. The whole shop fell silent, everyone pale with terror at the gruesome sight. Fang Shuo shuddered, unable to comprehend how someone without corpse energy could instantly kill a Class B corpse soldier. Even after witnessing that, the remaining henchman stubbornly charged, throwing a massive punch. But he died even worse. His head exploding before Yan Zhen barely moved, the system announced 2 level points gained. Then Yan Zhen calmly walked up to Fang Shuo, who trembled uncontrollably, yet still screamed defiantly. Fang Shuo turned pale, trying to threaten by claiming he served City Lord Fang Qi, warning the Fang family would send elites to kill Yan Zhen. Hearing that, Yan Zhen paused, recalling the high-rank corpse soldiers Nan Yu mentioned, planning to use Fang Shuo for intel. Seeing Yan Zhen stop, Fang Shuo mistook it for fear, smugly thinking the name Fang Qi always struck terror. He continued threatening to kill all of Yan Zhen's loved ones, but was cut off by a devastating punch that dropped him instantly. The light but precise blow drained nearly 80% of Fang Shuo's life, leaving him dying on the floor. He rolled amid shattered bricks, his body bruised and pitiful. Yan Zhen worried he had hit too hard, and the man might die before becoming a servant for intel gathering. Even so, he asked the shopkeeper if he wanted to vent his anger with a few punches. The owner hesitated and waved off, saying he dared not touch a Fang family member. But moments later, he changed his mind, grabbed a stick, and furiously beat Fang Shuo while cursing, leaving Yan Zhen stunned. After half an hour, the exhausted owner sat down, gasping but smiling in satisfaction, while Fang Shuo was near death with only 5% life left. Yan Zhen immediately healed him, dissolved the old servitude bond, and formed a new contract, consuming 1 level point. When it was done, Fang Shuo sprang up in terror, glancing around wildly. Seeing Yan Zhen, he trembled and respectfully addressed him as master. From then on, Fang Shuo became a Class C+ servant, kneeling and pledging his full loyalty to Yan Zhen. The shopkeeper stood frozen, mouth agape, unable to believe what he saw. His heart churned, baffled that the most arrogant man in the area now bowed like a dog before an outsider. Yan Zhen coldly ordered Fang Shuo to reveal everything about the Fang family. After listening for a few minutes, Yan Zhen mocked that his intel was worthless and his bragging about close ties was laughable. Fang Shuo panicked, begging for mercy and punishment to atone, but Yan Zhen signaled no need. He sat thinking, satisfied to gain intel about a cemetery full of corpse beasts and high-grade gear ideal for leveling up. Yan Zhen eagerly planned to reach rank S and deal with Fang Qi, but the owner realistically reminded him he'd have to defeat S-rank guards first. Yan Zhen scratched his head, visibly puzzled by the difficulty. The owner briefly explained many in the city hated Fang Qi, even an S-rank assassin once failed against his defenses. He added that killing Fang Qi could worsen the Fang faction's chaos, and that he, as a small shop owner, couldn't decide for him. Yan Zhen realized he hadn't considered those consequences, despite his hatred for Fang Qi. The owner revealed Fang Chi had killed many civilians, including his family, then carefully took something from a drawer. He sincerely said changing leadership must be cautious to avoid turmoil, leaving the final choice to Yan Zhen. The owner handed him a small wooden box, which Yan Zhen curiously opened. The man smiled warmly, saying it was a gift made from graveyard materials perfect for him. Inside were a gun and a blade forged from graveyard ores. The system noted ultra-hard material and a sharp edge capable of resisting corpse beasts. Soon after, Yan Zhen and Fang Shuo stood before an A-rank cemetery. A low-level battle tomb opened, and Yan Zhen was pleased to recall its location. He sternly ordered Fang Shuo to guard the gate and forbid anyone from entering. Yan Zhen approached the cemetery gate, ready to enter. He placed his hand on it, a golden light flaring as the gate opened. The system panel displayed detailed modes: normal, heroic, cataclysm, and supreme, each with different limits. Supreme required solo killing 100 foes in an hour. Yan Xin excitedly compared it to childhood dungeon games, but admitted the cataclysm mode was near suicidal. He ultimately chose heroic mode with fearless resolve. The gate opened, and Yan Zhen cautiously descended, alert to his surroundings. The air was thick with corpse energy, weighing on him as he recalled the owner's warnings. He thought it was too early for revenge on Fang Chi. First, he needed stronger weapons, debating between fists or sword. Going deeper, he found a massive door, took a deep breath, and told himself to reach S rank before thinking further. He pushed the door open with determination to see what monster awaited beyond. As it opened, he slipped and fell into an abyss, shouting in panic. The system urgently announced, "Mission Kill the Commander activated, exit locked until completion." Yan Zhen yelled in shock. Immediately, a soldier appeared, shouting at him for his panicked behavior. The soldier scolded him further, mocking his sloppy look and demanding where his weapons and uniform were. Yan Zhen was pulled into a formation of soldiers, confused among the neatly lined ranks. They were all herded onto a ship at sea, surrounded by hundreds of chaotic warships heading the same way. Yan Zhen quickly realized the dungeon simulated the tense atmosphere of World War II. He scanned the situation carefully, trying to grasp the coming scenario. The captain drew a pistol from his belt. He hurriedly handed it to Yan Zhen, about to give further instructions. But turning back, he froze in shock at Yan Zhen's advanced armor. At some point, Yan Zhen had fully equipped top-tier gear: Pro 500 bulletproof helmet, graveyard armor, star sniper rifle with perfect silencer, all corpse-grade items from the system's inventory. Not only the captain, but the whole squad was stunned by his expensive loadout, wondering how he could be that rich. They didn't have time to question long. They unlocked the hatch, preparing to disembark under tense pressure. As soon as the door opened, the front soldiers were gunned down instantly. Bullets rained from the enemy, felling many troops and throwing the scene into chaos. Even so, the captain stayed calm, advancing steadily without fear. He took cover behind wooden crates, analyzing that only ship number 7 was recklessly charging ahead. Suddenly, Yan Zhen appeared beside him, startling him. The captain yelled in shock, then asked in confusion why he was standing there. Once he recovered, he noticed Yan Zhen wasn't wearing a helmet and worried, but Yan Zhen calmly said it was concealed. The captain turned back to the front, noting the enemy had anti-tank guns preventing vehicles from landing and MG-42s threatening the infantry. He ordered that once the machine gun shifted aim, he and a private would rush forward. But when he turned again, Yan Zhen had vanished without a trace. Meanwhile, soldiers on both sides kept advancing bravely, trying to break the enemy line. Suddenly, Yan Zhen shot past above them, astonishing everyone. At the cliffside fortification, he stopped abruptly, ready to act. He launched himself upward with a powerful leap, like a living bullet. The soldiers below gawked, shocked by his incredible jump. He nearly reached the top of the cliff. Yan Zhen smirked confidently, thinking he'd made it. But his body suddenly froze mid-air. He slammed into the rock face, painfully realizing he couldn't climb higher. He cursed inwardly, regretting forgetting his strength was halved. The loud noise alarmed the enemies above, who looked down in confusion. One soldier leaned over to check. Instantly, Yanjin grabbed his face and yanked him down. He coldly tossed the corpse aside, confirming they were indeed corpse beasts. Within seconds, Yanjin climbed straight into the enemy stronghold, shocking everyone inside. He seized a nearby rifle, reacting at lightning speed. Without hesitation, Yanjin spun and fired repeatedly, each bullet hitting perfectly, triggering his enhanced marksmanship skill at 10/100. The enemies fell before they could react, the air thick with gun smoke. Outside, the remaining foes were still unaware, cautiously approaching. When grenades flew in, the enemies finally panicked in shock. Realizing they were ambushed, a series of explosions left them fighting back desperately. Inside the cave, Yanjin calmly tossed grenades out, grateful for having plenty in stock. The blasts were devastating, wiping out all enemies on the mountain. On the ground, infantry struggled against corpse beasts, many being bitten to death despite heavy gunfire. Even with bullets hitting head and heart, the monster lived on, driving everyone to despair. A trembling soldier asked his superior about the strange creature, but even the lieutenant was terrified and confused. Lieutenant Junji's voice cracked. It was his first time seeing such a hopeless battle. Nearly the whole squad was wiped out, bodies scattered with only a few enemies killed. A corpse beast closed in on the captain as the soldiers ran out of ammo, fear gripping them all. One soldier suggested retreat, but the captain firmly chose to stay and fight. He drew his knife, eyes burning with determination. The corpse beast instantly lunged for a brutal attack. Though brave, the captain froze in terror. Just as the monster struck, it exploded mid-air. The captain turned and stared at the shattered remains of its hand in horror. Yanjin appeared, holding an enhanced pistol that had precisely shot the creature. He stepped forward, explaining that to kill a corpse beast, one must shoot its nose or brain. The captain gazed at Yanjin's gun in awe. He was stunned. The weapon's power rivaled heavy artillery. The soldiers beside him sighed in relief, but a shadow flashed above, making them tense again. A corpse soldier suddenly stomped a man to death and attacked savagely. The captain went pale, frozen at the gruesome sight. That corpse beast turned out to be an elite Imperial major with terrifying might. After killing the soldier, it immediately crushed the lieutenant's head with monstrous strength. The beast's hand stopped just a palm's length from the lieutenant's face as he stood frozen. Fortunately, Yanjin yanked him back in time, ordering everyone to retreat as far as possible. He raised his gun, activating critical burst, unleashing a storm of bullets at the beast. Bullets rained like a storm, explosions and debris flying everywhere. After a while, he stopped firing, squinting as he noticed something odd. A huge hole appeared on the beast's body, surprising him. It had raised a rock shield before its chest to block the shots. Its body remained intact while the rock was riddled with holes, showing rare intelligence. Yanjin was slightly startled by the counter. Moments later, the beast crushed the rock and hurled the fragments at Yanjin at high speed. He dodged nimbly again and again, escaping the deadly barrage. His evasions kicked up a cloud of dust that blanketed the whole area. The continuous explosions spread the smoke, obscuring both sides. As the haze surrounded them, the corpse beast suddenly turned alertly. From within the dust, a large boulder came flying, but it instantly summoned another shield to counter. The impact shattered the boulder into countless fragments. Seizing the moment of distraction, Yanjin leapt high, closing in right above the monster's head. He fired continuously, muzzle flashes flaring fiercely. The violent corpse quickly formed a thick stone wall for defense. All bullets were blocked by the stone dome, causing no harm. Still, Yanjin kept firing, carving 4 large holes in the shield. He landed, keeping a safe distance, eyes locked on his foe. Yanjin activated the piercing skill, channeling immense power into his shot. The giant bullet tore through the stone wall, shattering the monster's defense. The shot pierced its body, but it didn't fall, fueling his frustration. Irritated by his lack of foresight ability, he decided to fire more rounds. He raised his gun, focusing intently to pull the trigger. Suddenly, the creature's arm swung from the side, catching him off guard. The massive punch sent him crashing into a wall, debris flying. Luckily, he used his gun to block, avoiding severe injury. Yanjin laughed, praising his gun's durability while mocking the enemy. He noticed the monster using green energy to heal itself. Realizing the danger, he decided to finish it immediately. Yanjin delivered a powerful kick, shattering its stone arm. In retaliation, the creature summoned stone spikes from the ground. The sharp spikes grew and shot upward violently. He retreated swiftly, dodging each strike. At the same time, he countered precisely with gunfire. The monster formed more dense stone walls for defense. Yanjin pressed on, firing through each barrier. Each shot dug deeper holes nearing the target. The creature hid behind the last defensive layer. As it began to crumble, it panicked at the looming danger. The rain of bullets destroyed all remaining stone walls. The monster leapt away in terror to dodge the relentless barrage. But as it moved, Yanjin appeared before it, gun aimed at its head through the smoke. Yanjin pressed the gun to its face, eyes cold and domineering. Strangely, the creature didn't evade but cast a mysterious spell. It grabbed his hand, summoning a giant stone hand from the ground to lift them both. Yanjin felt a jolt of alarm and sensed danger. He suspected the enemy planned to die together with him. The giant hand squeezed hard, trying to crush them both. But suddenly, sharp slashes cut through the stone hand. The hand exploded, and the system announced the level 40A monster's death. Yanjin gained 6 levels, a stone core, and a new skill. From afar, through binoculars, Yanjin appeared blood on his forehead, eyes blazing with rage. A white-haired man watched with an amused smile. He was Nan Feng, brother of Nan Yu, a mysterious man of unknown level, intrigued by the fight. Yanjin examined the Earth Corp's core, deciding to store it for later use. He saved the item in his system and spent upgrade points, keeping 2 in reserve. His level rose to 42, with 2 unused points remaining. After finishing, a glowing door appeared, signaling a new stage. He approached as the system confirmed the first phase complete and the next about to begin. Stepping through, a strong flash enveloped his body. When he opened his eyes, a powerful Soman tank convoy stood ahead. Unsure of the situation, he hid behind a wall, wary of ambush from tiger tanks. A passing soldier warned him to retreat inside as the area was dangerous. Before finishing, the soldier's tank exploded in flames. Yanjin ducked quickly, cursing for nearly being hit. The attacker was a massive tiger tank, barrel still smoking, menacing in sight. Another soldier shouted, and the convoy turned toward the residential zone. The commander swiftly ordered a flanking counterattack while the main force withdrew. The Soman convoy retreated in formation into the village. At a junction, they encountered a charging tiger blocking their path. The Soman forces halted, soldiers stunned by the sight. The tiger fired swiftly at the leading Sherman tank. The shell struck, sending it flying and bursting into flames. On the flank, Soman troops realized the mission had failed as explosions echoed. Only 2 tigers remained ahead, one attacking head-on, the other circling behind. The Sherman commander retaliated instantly, ordering return fire. The opposing tigers responded with a barrage just as fierce. The tank battle erupted violently, both sides locked in chaos. Outnumbered, the 2 tigers still crushed many Shermans with overwhelming power. Some Soman tanks flanked and hit, cracking the tigers' armor. They thought they had finally destroyed it, claiming a brief victory. A Soman fired another decisive shot to ensure the kill. Immediately after, the remaining tiger countered, burning the Sherman to ashes. Even losing one, the Shermans managed to destroy a tiger, leaving both sides tense. Through binoculars, someone spotted a strange tank approaching from afar. The survivors wondered if it was a new kind of reinforcement. They doubted any tank could defeat a tiger so easily. A command was given, and the tiger fired a powerful shot at the newcomer. The shell sped toward the target at high velocity. Strangely, it bounced off, leaving only scratches on the new tank. The enemy soldiers panicked, baffled by its unpierced armor. Inside the new tank, Yanjin murmured confidently, "My turn now." He fired not 1 but 3 massive shells toward the tiger. The shells struck precisely, detonating the tiger in a fiery explosion. After destroying the target, Yanjin withdrew the tank and ordered retreat. The strange tank vanished mysteriously right after. Fortunately, he had upgraded the free tank earlier into a solo combat version. Yanjin stayed alert, watching the base cautiously for further threats. Inside the Tiger Commander's mind echoed rage and vows of revenge. Yanjin hid cautiously inside a small house deep within the base. He activated the enhanced piercing skill and summoned his tank again. As soon as it appeared, the house he hid in was crushed completely. The surrounding tanks immediately opened fire, attacking relentlessly. But he blew them all up, leaving only one trembling tiger screaming inside. The remaining tiger turned its cannon and fired fiercely at Yanjin. From afar, another tiger squad was ordered to assist. The wiped-out unit alarmed command, sending the king tiger into battle. When they arrived, a strange tank appeared in the distance Yanjin's own. Scouts reported urgently through binoculars that an enemy tank was 2 kilometers away. The commander shouted to calm them, saying it was beyond the enemy's range. But Yanjin struck first, firing a massive piercing shell toward the tiger convoy. The shell pierced through 10 tigers in a flash. The entire line erupted in explosions, flames, and smoke covering the battlefield. He advanced to check, finding only the king tiger still standing amid the ruins. Suddenly, countless tentacles extended from its cannon, spreading to encircle his tank. Yanjin frowned, sensing danger. The tentacles restructured the king, altering its form and vanishing into its armor. It revealed itself as a level 50 corpse beast, transforming the tank into the Spider Corpse King, an identical copy of his. Yanjin froze, stunned that the enemy had copied his entire design. The Spider King turned its cannon toward him, ready to fire. He quickly recalled his tank and leapt into the air to evade the counterattack. Noticing the top might be a weak point, he decided to strike head-on. His tank reappeared, firing downward at the target below. The massive shell shot straight down toward the Spider King's body. But it dodged aside, making the shell explode violently into the ground. Yanjin was startled by something strange in the smoke. At that moment, 4 massive tentacles from the Spider King lunged at him like living blades. Before he could react, they coiled around him tightly, dragging him aside in peril. Dizzy, he thought. Is it trying to crush me along with the tank? He immediately recalled and dispelled the summon to escape. Then he gripped a tentacle, channeling force through his arms to crush its head. Finally, the tentacle was severed, leaving only a smoldering stump. He landed firmly, scanning the area calmly to assess the situation. It turned out he had secretly attached 2 bombs to the Spider King's body earlier. Seconds later, the entire monster exploded in a massive blast. Yanjin observed the aftermath, fully on alert. With no system message confirming the kill, he warned himself, and indeed, tentacles shot out again from the smoke. They stretched out, clinging to the wreckage of other tigers, seemingly regenerating a new body. Realizing its plan, he prepared a fierce counterspell to crush it before transformation could complete. Before he could act, a dark figure emerged, human upper body fused with a tank base, grotesque in form, its face identical to Fen Mao's grandfather. Yanjin froze, exclaiming in shock, "Isn't that Fen Mao's grandfather?" Anger and sorrow surged. If her grandfather became a corpse beast, were the villagers still alive? While he stood stunned, countless tentacles wrapped tightly around his legs. The tentacles attached to cannons aimed straight at him. A barrage of shells erupted, covering the area where he stood. A massive explosion roared, debris flying everywhere. Fen Mao's grandfather approached the blast site, smiling triumphantly. Not seeing Yanjin's body, he laughed louder, filled with pride. But when the smoke cleared, Yanjin's tank appeared, only lightly scratched. The old man's smile faded, worry flickering in his eyes. From the smoke, a shadowy figure dashed forward at lightning speed. That figure pierced through the tentacles, charging straight at the corpse beast. In less than a second, Yanjin stood face to face with the old man, eyes blazing. He raised his hand to strike a fatal blow, but hesitated, unable to do it. Instead, he slashed repeatedly, shattering the creature's body into fragments. At his feet lay only the old man's head, rolling amid the dust. Yanjin knelt down. The old man, regaining his memory, smiled kindly and murmured, "You are Yanjin?" Yanjin urgently asked about Xiaoqi's condition. Hearing her name, the old man panicked, trying to say she must be saved. Before finishing, he was suddenly shot dead, blood splattering onto Yan Zhen's face. The system granted him level-up points. Yan Zhen glared toward the direction of the bullet, demanding the shooter reveal himself. It was Nan Feng, cold and composed, mocking Yan Zhen's hesitation. Nan Feng introduced himself and mentioned his sister, Nan Yu. Yan Zhen sternly retorted, challenging his interference. Nan Feng smiled faintly, saying he wasn't an enemy but a temporary ally. He told Yan Zhen to seek him if he wanted to pass the next stage. With that, Nan Feng opened a door to the next trial. He vanished mysteriously, leaving only a promise to meet again. Yan Zhen stayed cautious but chose to continue through the gate. He stepped into a blinding light. In an instant, he found himself inside a modern aircraft. Around him, hundreds of fighters were preparing for an intense air battle. Yan Zhen calculated upgrades and decided to spend his remaining points. He upgraded his plane, enlarging and strengthening its frame. Spending 2 points, he obtained an F-22 fighter jet. The soldiers nearby were stunned, unable to believe their eyes. Moments later, an Allied aircraft was suddenly shot down. Glass shattered, the wreck fell in flames. The enemy appeared behind them, the source of the attack. The lead enemy locked its target onto Yan Zhen. A command echoed, "Prioritize eliminating him." Yan Zhen smirked, taunting them to attack. The enemy planes pursued, keeping him locked in their sights. Yan Zhen accelerated upward into the sky, evading with precision. He successfully exited the combat zone. The enemies panicked after losing his signal, thinking they had lost. Suddenly, one enemy plane exploded. They were terrified, unsure where the attack came from. Then another jet blew up violently. Hypersonic missiles struck beyond visual range, leaving them no chance to dodge. Yan Zhen counterattacked fiercely, firing non-stop in pursuit. Many enemy aircraft burned, their forces weakened. Within moments, 8 were shot down. Yan Zhen ceased fire after running out of ammo, switching to another strategy. He accelerated forward, unleashing his remaining firepower. The enemies couldn't react in time and plunged into the sea. More fighters swarmed in, surrounding him. They all opened fire wildly. A hail of bullets engulfed Yan Zhen's jet. He maneuvered sharply upward, gaining the advantage. Enemy pilots were stunned, unable to believe what they saw. Yan Zhen countered, shooting down several more planes. All enemies were destroyed, leaving him out of ammunition. Suddenly, a shell hit his fuselage, putting him in danger. Just when he thought the fight was over, a new threat appeared. From afar, a massive Level 60 Corpse Beast aircraft emerged, terrifying and colossal. Yan Zhen groaned out of ammo while another foe approached. He upgraded his jet, fully restored ammo and fuel with 4 points left. He sped away rapidly from the enemy. The new engine's power far surpassed the old one. The foe pursued closely, firing heavy artillery. The warning system signaled target lock on. Yan Zhen dove headfirst toward the enemy's cannon fire. He flipped skillfully, turning from prey into predator. Now on the offensive, he launched fiery shells at the enemy. The shot nearly hit the tail, but the foe suddenly swerved to evade. It dodged exactly like Yan Zhen had earlier. The enemy jet looped behind him to counterattack. It gained altitude and pierced his plane's fuselage. Yan Zhen looked up through the cockpit glass. He was shocked by the enemy's speed and power. The foe fired another barrage straight at him. Yan Zhen couldn't react in time. The bullets struck true. His plane exploded mid-air in a tragic blast. Amid the wreckage, a strange light flashed a teleportation bullet. The bullet shot toward a 5th-generation fighter. Within the glow, Yan Zhen suddenly reappeared. He clung tightly to the enemy plane's exterior. After struggling, he managed to secure his grip. He took out a free bomb reward and attached it to the enemy's fuselage. After planting it, Yan Zhen flipped backward to retreat. As he pulled away, he dropped dozens of large bombs. The sound of ticking timers filled the air. Moments later, a massive explosion engulfed the entire area. He escaped just in time but was flung far by the shockwave. Yan Zhen grew suspicious when no system message confirmed the kill. From the smoke emerged the new form of the Corpse Beast, the Level 60 Dragon King, massive as a dragon. He was stunned to realize the boss had 2 phases. The monster opened its jaws, charging a destructive energy blast. He calmly drew his gun, aiming to weaken it. At that instant, the corpse beast fired a violent energy beam toward him. Yanjin dodged swiftly, narrowly escaping. The energy blast struck the ground below. The blinding explosion forced him to shut his eyes. The blast spread wide, wiping out the entire area. Gasping, he admitted the attack was as powerful as a nuclear bomb. Suddenly, he sensed the corpse beast charging close. He realized it couldn't launch a second attack immediately. He drew his long gun and unleashed a powerful rapid barrage. But the corpse beast charged on, unfazed. The bullets couldn't pierce its tough hide. In a flash, it opened its mouth to swallow him, but he vanished. Yanjin suddenly appeared inside the monster's body. He spun his gun, firing all his weapons from within. The creature's insides erupted in fierce flames. He approached and saw the burnt flesh healing rapidly. The thick skin reduced damage, only a heart shot could kill it. But there were too many hearts, making him uneasy. It had split its heart into thousands of fragments to prevent death. Its high level made it nearly impossible to kill. Soon, the creature fully regenerated and roared, throwing him off. Yanjin struggled to hold on, but was nearly flung away. In the end, he was hurled off its body. The corpse beast turned back, preparing an energy blast. He was puzzled why it used a finisher without being hit. He teleported aside, but too slowly the blast grazed him. Suddenly, he was pulled by a massive gravitational force. Yanjin was terrified this pull was far stronger than before. He twisted around and fired a bullet into the black hole's center. The bullet reversed midair, flying back toward him. He tilted his head just in time, narrowly avoiding it. Before he could rest, the corpse beast charged again from afar. It flew forward, mouth glowing with immense energy. He felt the gravity lock him in place, unable to dodge certain death if hit. With no retreat, he pulled out his small gun, his final trump card. He poured all level-up points into weapon upgrades, light flaring. The system confirmed multiple successful upgrades. The gun transformed, jet black and radiating power, a legendary weapon with random massive damage. He smiled, accepting the gamble with his life, and pulled the trigger. Huge dice manifested, spinning within the released energy. They merged into the blast and shot toward the corpse beast. The monster didn't dodge, colliding head-on. The impact caused a blinding explosion of light. The massive blast shook the entire sky. In the city, an officer calmly sipped his coffee. Suddenly, the building trembled violently, startling him. Li Zijiang shouted in alarm. He told Xiaochang to stay calm, insisting it wasn't an earthquake. The officer sighed, annoyed at his subordinate's fear. Then he grew serious, sensing murderous intent from the outskirts, likely a high-level battle. Back on the battlefield, the corpse beast was unharmed but disoriented, spinning wildly. Yanjin seized the chance to charge in. Relieved, he realized the last attack weakened its control, allowing him to move behind the boss. He fired another small shot. The bullet turned into a die, hitting the corpse beast. But the blast was weak, causing no damage. He was momentarily confused by his ineffective attack. Soon after, the monster gathered energy for another strike. While it focused, he swiftly attacked from the side. Using the Bo Duo Shaji skill, he fired 5 bullets that turned into 5 spinning dice. One of them showed a special 6-dot face. He sighed, knowing it was a big chance, but not perfect yet. Before he could finish, the monster suddenly appeared before him, lunging forward. Its body began showing strange reactions. It turned out each bullet earlier contained explosive energy inside it. The corpse beast's body glowed and then detonated violently, disintegrating completely. Only a few fragments floated in the air. After the fierce battle, the system announced enemy eliminated, activating the passive skill surpass limit bonus points based on level gap. Yanjin received 2 normal points. A small black mark appeared on his hand. The system notified. Received legendary level point of Shadow Dragon King, enabling a legendary upgrade and unlocking the skill Dragon Fang Explosion, a powerful blast, drawing everything toward its core. He reasoned the skill was extremely strong but limited in graveyard zones, deciding to save it for later. Status check. Yanjin LV 50, Strength 50, Speed 50, Stamina and Vitality 100, Physical Resistance 53, 2 normal points and 1 legendary point remaining. The system warned, from LV-50 onward, leveling requires epic or legendary points. Right after reading, the ground beneath him cracked open. He turned back to witness the scene. A massive structure rose from the earth, forcing him to duck the debris. In moments, a dark and ominous castle appeared. He guessed it was likely the final boss's lair. Yanjin approached, placing his hand on the icy stone gate. The door slowly opened before him. As soon as he stepped inside, it closed heavily behind him. He cautiously observed, realizing the interior resembled a vast laboratory. Going deeper, he stopped at the main room and peeked through a steel crack. Inside, scientists were checking data, preparing to report to the Supreme Leader. Yanjin quietly moved along the high corridor, seeing every test tube clearly. In those tubes were green fluids and numerous preserved corpse beasts, including the Rot Queen Akiji class. He immediately deduced that all corpse beasts outside were created here. Looking closer, he froze in shock. In one tube floated Enslaving's body, no longer human, making Yanjin cry out her name in despair. He rushed toward the tube containing Xiaoqi. He drew his gun, intending to break it to save her. A giant pair of scissors shot toward him, forcing him to toss his gun aside. The scissors were pulled back by a controlling wire. He realized the foe was a B+ level corpse beast, armless, wielding twin steel shears via cables. Yanjin stepped back, preparing to fight. Fearing stray bullets might harm Xiaoqi, he chose melee combat. He drew a dagger, taking stance with a cold taunt. Inside the room, the scientists panicked as alarms were about to sound. A man rushed forward to press the doorbell. As his hand touched it, a cold light flashed. The scientist died instantly. The companion stared in shock at his fallen friend. Nanfeng appeared, coldly ordering no alarms. Subordinates assumed he trusted the corpse beast to handle the intruder. But the giant scissors flew off, piercing the wall along with the corpse beast's head. Nanfeng smiled, pleased with Yanjin's power. He glanced at his watch, 30 seconds left. After the previous battle, Yanjin felt his combat ability had weakened. Nanfeng suspected he was hiding his strength, puzzled why the guards died so fast. Yanjin stayed silent, realizing he was being watched. He admitted he had altered the system, making the corpse beasts stronger inside. Nanfeng looked confused, then smiled, saying no need to explain. Yanjin replied shortly, saying no one would believe him anyway. While they talked, a scientist recognized the intruder and feared being seen as a traitor. At that moment, Yanjin pointed at him, demanding he release Xiaoqi. The researcher trembled, claiming he lacked authority and only recorded data. Before he finished, a gun was aimed at his forehead. Yanjin spoke slowly, his tone full of threat. Nanfeng interrupted, explaining only the Prime Head could open the chamber. It was a national strategic project. Yanjin angrily wanted to break it, but Nanfeng reminded him the chamber was reinforced and bulletproof. He was about to use chemicals when the chamber suddenly sank into the ground. Yanjin froze, watching it descend. Sensing trouble, he spun around. The researcher had pressed the descent button. Yanjin furiously pressed the gun to his chin, demanding to raise it back, but the man calmly said it was too late. The chamber was heading to the Prime Head, and following meant certain death. Before he finished, Yanjin shot him dead. Fury surged as he cursed under his breath. Then he stormed out toward the leader's base to save the girl. Nanfeng crossed his arms, warning that his current power was only rank A. While the leader was rank S, direct assault was hopeless. Hearing this, Yanjin clenched his fists, eyes full of hatred. Enraged, he blamed the system's limits for keeping him from fighting rank S. In despair, Nanfeng suddenly placed a hand on his shoulder, smiling. "I'll help you." Yanjin doubted him, asking why, since Nanfeng served the leader. Nanfeng coldly replied, questioning why Yanjin hadn't acted earlier when people were taken for experiments. He patted Yanjin's head, saying not to dwell on details. The greater goal was to destroy the true enemy. Soon after, Nanfeng led him upstairs. Both silently watched below through a glass wall. They saw the leader inspecting the troops below. The flag of the armed forces fluttered in the snowy rain. Thousands of monster soldiers stood upright in perfect formation. From above, a man in a formal suit stepped out among them, drawing all attention. He was the S-rank, the supreme leader. Everyone realized Yuan Shou was a title, not a personal name. It turned out all the monsters were created by his special art, not natural beings. Yuan Shou raised his hand and cast a spell. The ground cracked open as something rose from below. A containment chamber emerged. It was where Xiaoqi was imprisoned. Yanjin's eyes widened in shock upon seeing Xiaoqi. Wen Shou spoke solemnly, face streaked with black lines, declaring humanity's annihilation. As he finished, he burst into a mad laugh. A bullet flew, blowing apart his head. The leader's body fell motionless. The glass shattered as Yan Zhen burst out, sniping him cleanly with one shot. He was stunned. How could an S-rank fall so easily? Nan Feng pointed to the monster army, warning it wasn't that simple. A new figure identical to Yuan Shou appeared among the creatures. He raised his hand, ordering his troops to destroy the assassin. Then he pulled out a massive cannon. The cannon aimed straight at the building where Yan Zhen and his allies stood. He laughed triumphantly, thinking he had won. But from the smoke, a bullet pierced his head. Yan Zhen leaped down into the horde, summoned his spear, and planted small bombs. He asked Nan Feng about resurrection through clones. Nan Feng said it was similar but used substitute bodies. Nan Feng explained that spells summoned soldiers to die in place of their master. Yanjin wondered if infinite summoning meant immortality. Nan Feng replied there were limits: kill all troops in range or pull him outside the summoning zone. Yanjin asked about that range. Nan Feng said he'd never seen the true limit and they must find out. Yanjin decided to kill Yuan Shou, telling Nan Feng to protect the pink-haired girl. Nan Feng agreed. He returned to his post and activated the bomb, which glowed like a terrain scanner. The soldiers spotted it and unleashed heavy gunfire. Yanjin dodged, leaving the bomb exposed under fire. Suddenly, the bomb moved, startling nearby soldiers. It kept expanding, growing larger and larger. Nan Feng watched from above, clicking his tongue. He thought the kid meant to level the whole plaza. Then Nan Feng quickly cast a spell. The ground around the platform split open. A thick wall rose, a barrier he conjured to shield himself and Xiaoqi. Yanjin saw the pink-haired girl's spot secured. He pressed the controller to detonate. The bomb exploded, tearing countless corpse soldiers apart. The blast was so strong it nearly leveled the entire area. Dust and debris filled the air. After nearly a minute, the explosion finally faded. He looked around. Every soldier was obliterated. He sneered, mocking the enemy for losing their substitutes. Then he sensed something wrong. Beneath the rubble, a war beast identical to Yuan Shou was trapped by the leg. Yanjin aimed his gun, declaring he'd found the real target. But as he pulled the trigger, a hand from the ground grabbed his leg. He looked down and saw the corpse beast glowing before violently exploding. Yanjin leapt away just in time. Two corpse beasts suddenly charged from behind. Countless hands reached up from the ground beneath him. Shocked by the hidden army, Yanjin quickly used teleportation. Then a chain of corpse beasts exploded, proving Yuan Shou had used layered corpse burst spells. Yanjin turned into a bullet, shooting out of the blast zone perfectly. The bullet flew at high speed. Then it struck a strange green slime. He reappeared in human form inside the liquid. In the city, Nan Feng pondered, certain Yuan Shou still hid his true power. After staying hidden so long, using only substitutes and corpse bursts, he hadn't expected Yan Zhen to destroy thousands instantly. Wen Shu had deployed his buried corpse army, but Yan Zhen's bullet teleport skill was useless here. The green liquid blocked bullet travel, making it the natural counter to his ability. The fluid also absorbed energy from nearby corpse remains. Nan Feng realized it was drawing essence from exploded bodies. Inside the liquid, Yan Zhen tried using gun force to propel his bullet. But he could only move a few meters. The bullets lost all power here. He told himself he had to swim out first. Yet the more he struggled, the tighter the liquid pressed, trapping him. Panic rose. He was running out of air. Nan Feng watched, deciding to intervene or Yan Zhen would die. He began channeling a rescue spell. But red eyes suddenly appeared behind him, sending chills down his spine. He turned to see a deformed corpse beast with only limbs crawling toward him. Remembering Xiaoqi in the chamber, he grew alarmed. He thought if the creature broke in, the pink-haired girl would be in danger. As expected, the base was rocked by a violent explosion. Amid the smoke, Nan Feng grabbed Anaoki, sighing at his lapse, then covered her with his coat. Meanwhile, Yan Zhen's gun drifted in the dense fluid. He had fainted from lack of oxygen, his body sinking. Outside, a dark figure rose and approached the slime. It was Yuanshou himself. He placed his hand on the surface, sensing for Yan Zhen's life signs. Using corpse magic through the fluid, he located the man's heartbeat. He smiled in satisfaction, believing his heart would soon stop, turning him into an A-rank corpse beast. Suddenly, a faint golden light glowed around his hand in the fluid. The flash startled him greatly. The light inside the liquid grew brighter. Yan Zhen opened his eyes. The system showed 1 upgrade point used, 10 left, and his HP fully restored, shocking the enemy. The foe couldn't understand how a dying A-class human revived. Though confused, he remained confident Yan Zhen was still trapped. He believed even with multiple revivals, Yan Zhen would die over and over. As long as he stayed inside, he could revive at most 10 times. The foe had backup tricks ready. Yan Zhen combined 2 weapons, spending 1 point to forge the legendary blade Yehuo Zhiren. The sword was of legendary grade, cut like mud, burned souls, but had limited active effects. Wenshou below stood stunned, unable to comprehend the scene. He ordered an attack. Minions rushed to crush the man inside the fluid. The corpse soldiers dove into the slime, swimming toward Yan Zhen. To detonate near the exit, he had to use the water pressure as a weapon. Yan Zhen swung his sword fiercely at the corpse beasts. The powerful slashes created a violent whirlpool inside the liquid. The pressure shattered the fluid barrier into fragments. Finally, he broke through, bursting out in a spray of green water. Yuanshou roared in rage and disbelief. He proclaimed himself destined for great restoration and began recalling the green liquid. A bullet suddenly shot toward him. Yan Zhen dashed forward and sliced it in half. Then a massive whirlwind swept through, erasing all corpse beasts. He saw Yuanshou had fled underground. Yan Zhen's expression hardened, staying alert. The ground behind him bulged, signaling danger. From beneath, Yuanshou's followers surged up to attack. Yuanshou boasted of controlling countless races and endless life. He mocked the idea of being destroyed, taunting Yan Zhen while fleeing. As he retreated, he vowed to find new ways to counter and never surrender. But mid-boast, his breath turned into blazing blue fire. His body began violently distorting. He was engulfed in roaring blue flames. He cast an escape spell, leaving behind only burning boots. In truth, he tunneled deeper underground, panicking as his substitute body still burned. Screaming in madness, he watched his hands ignite and demanded to know why. Finally, he surfaced, still consumed by the flames. His body burned to ashes, leaving only a charred head and limbs. He screamed in agony as the blue fire spread outward. At last, Yuanshou was completely incinerated, vanishing without a trace. Immediately, the system announced his defeat, granting normal and legendary upgrade points and unlocking the skill substitute Death Shield. He also gained the skill Yuanshou Commander, allowing control or summoning of subordinate corpses, plus the leader's brain as loot. But before he could claim it, someone snatched it away. That person was Nan Feng. He grinned proudly, admiring the small brain in his hand, satisfied that his plan had worked. Yan Zhen frowned coldly, realizing he'd been used. Nan Feng stored the item, cheerfully saying both sides benefited, he got what he wanted, and Yan Zhen saved his friend. Yan Zhen clenched his fists in anger. Nan Feng's face hardened, eyes icy, warning that fighting him would cost the girl's life. Yan Zhen froze and looked back at Anaoki. He saw a massive stone hand holding a blade aimed at her. Without hesitation, he rushed in and slashed it apart. Anaoki was saved just in time. Soon after, a giant object rose from underground. It was a tomb gate closing, and the system announced rewards would be tallied after it shut. As the sound ended, the sky turned red, then shattered into darkness. The ground beneath began to split open. The entire graveyard collapsed with a thunderous roar. Nan Feng's voice echoed, saying they would meet again. He hoped Yan Zhen wouldn't stand in his way next time. Standing on a rock, Nan Feng smiled cryptically before vanishing into black smoke. Then he turned and dissolved into the endless void. Outside the graveyard, Fang Suo sat by the gate, half asleep on guard. Suddenly, the gate behind him shook violently. He turned in surprise. At once, his face filled with horror. The graveyard behind was collapsing into ruin. He worried the tomb had fallen, yet his master hadn't returned. At that moment, a figure dropped from the sky. It was Yanjin carrying in Xiaoqi he had escaped the crypt. Seeing him safe, Fang Suo sighed in relief and joyfully greeted him. But Yanjin coldly ordered him to leave and stay uninvolved. Fang Suo just smiled, agreed, and told him not to mention him when he returned. Yanjin showed him a photo, instructing him to find the listed items upon entering the city. Next, he planned to arrange shelter for An Xiaoqi. Her clan had turned into corpse beasts, so she couldn't return to the village or enter the city. If she lost control there, disaster would follow. Then he headed for a volcano. Standing at the crater, he thought it was the perfect place. From this height, he could oversee a vast area. The steep slopes would prevent weak undead or corpse beasts from climbing. He planned to build defensive towers and a manor for An Xiaoqi to hide far from Dawn City. The system announced rewards, more normal, epic, and legendary upgrade points, plus attributes from Dark Dragon King and Yuan Shou. He found them worthwhile. After finishing, Fang Suo reported he had gathered all required items. He drove a truck to the marked location but couldn't find his master. Yanjin told him to leave the supplies and go. On the way back, Fang Suo scratched his head. Everything seemed normal, yet there were seeds and toy models. By evening, Yanjin arrived at the truck full of supplies. He decided the base's location must remain secret, even from subordinates. Then he lifted the entire truck with one hand. Holding the truck in one hand and his gun in the other, he felt his new strength surge from the tomb's rewards. He continued toward the volcano's crater. Carrying the whole vehicle, he calculated how to establish his new base. He resolved to level up according to his own will instead of relying on the system's predictions. He touched the miniature house model, activating his power to enlarge it. In an instant, the tiny model became a spacious building that could house 100 people. Yanjin laughed heartily, cheering that he finally had his own base. Engrossed in joy, he didn't notice a strange darkness lurking at the volcano's base, watching them. The entity stared at the peak with murderous intent while he continued building, spending one normal .19 left. That night, Yanjin began farming. He tilled the soil, scattering handfuls of seeds over the freshly plowed land. Then he used a special system ability. Within seconds, a lush garden appeared, filled with healthy apple trees. Next came rows of ripe watermelons and vibrant green vegetables. The system noted 9 normal points spent in exchange for fertile farmland. He sighed in relief. He admired his nearly completed manor with satisfaction. In this age of resource scarcity, securing steady food meant freedom from Dawn City's control. However, he soon pondered maintaining water, food, and defenses couldn't always rely on upgrade points. So he checked the skill Corpse Essence Harvest, which allowed taming undead under 25% HP using points, regretting killing all before. Walking, he muttered it was time to catch a few undead to pull carts, unaware an apple was shaking above. Moments later, the apple dropped. Strangely, when it hit the ground, the spot warped into a tiny black hole. The apple was instantly sucked in, and the hole vanished as if it never existed. A sense of unease rose. He glanced back, feeling something wrong. To be safe, he activated his special vision to scan the area. But finding nothing, he assumed he was just overthinking. Soon after, he moved toward a swamp called Niaoti to hunt corpse beasts. As he scouted, he recalled fleeing here once and seeing someone terrified by the place. He pulled out a bomb and bit off the safety pin. Then he threw it far ahead, muttering it was time to plow the field for monsters. The bomb hit the swamp water ahead and exploded violently. The explosion shook the entire swamp violently. Large bubbles rose from the surface as if a giant creature was emerging. A massive silhouette slowly appeared amid the boiling mud. As the water cleared, a huge body and fierce bullhead emerged. It was the A-class corpse beast, Dian Man Niao. Yanjin watched from afar, raising his hand to taunt the foe. He shouted, daring it to unleash its strongest attack. The beast roared and slammed down with tremendous force. It hurled a massive chunk of earth and rock toward him. When the mass was only inches away, Yanjin instantly teleported, vanishing from sight. The monster realized something was wrong, but it was too late. His blade swept across, decapitating it. Its HP dropped to 15%. After the fierce battle, he finished the beast and returned to the volcano base. But upon entering, he froze in disbelief. The apple and peach trees, once full of fruit, were now bare. Only gnawed apple scraps remained at their roots. The vegetable beds were trampled, the soil torn apart. The once lush garden had become ruins. Yanjin trembled with rage, shouting, "Who dared do this?" A dark figure slithered silently behind him, moving fast. Once spotted, it immediately fled. It was the A-class corpse beast Hei Wei, clutching a stolen food bag and laughing as it ran. But after a few steps, the bag was yanked still, unable to move. Yanjin looked down, gripping the bag tightly, voice low. "Wreck my manor and think you can keep the loot?" Hei Wei snarled, summoning black spikes from the ground. Yanjin leapt up, dodging repeatedly as the spikes kept rising. Hei Wei laughed loudly, thinking it had the upper hand. But a bullet grazed its face, silencing it instantly. From the bullet, Yanjin burst forth, delivering a fierce kick to its face. The creature was sent flying. Its body slammed into the volcano wall with a thunderous crash. When he approached, Hei Wei had vanished, leaving faint traces. He gritted his teeth. "Where did you run off to?" Suddenly, black veins appeared on his neck like poisoned bloodlines. The dark lines spread quickly to his arms and whole body. He felt himself bound tight, unable to move, as if countless dark vines wrapped around him, engulfing the volcano. Within minutes, everything around was swallowed in thick blackness. Strangely, Yanjin's body transformed. The black faded, replaced by pure white from hair to clothes. He looked down at his pale outfit, realizing the spell could strip blackness from its target. A voice behind him revealed it could use the stolen blackness to form a dark barrier. He turned to see a crimson-faced figure grinning madly, saying within this barrier all colors on him would turn black and be devoured. Then a blue light suddenly flashed to his right. He cautiously retreated. Yanjin looked at his shoulder, hit by the light. The green glow stuck and turned black. His orange clothes shifted to black, then white, draining his life force. The white parts sapped more vitality. He realized the barrier changed light color to blacken, then erase him until his body turned pure white and died. He planned to escape the barrier using a teleport bullet. The bullet stopped soon after being fired. Exposed to the light, it vanished instantly. Yanjin froze, realizing the barrier could trap bullets. He growled and pulled the trigger repeatedly. Hundreds of bullets shot out in a storm, but all were blocked by the light within the barrier. The red face reappeared, mocking that no bullet could escape and death was near. Yanjin quietly drew the Karma Fire Blade, ready to cast the complex spell Bing Cup A. The red face sneered, saying resistance was futile. As it finished speaking, Yanjin swung his sword in counterattack. He unleashed his full power with Karma Firehead, summoning a fierce blue firestorm. The barrier light struck, seemingly to extinguish the flame, but the fire flared stronger upon contact. The red face screamed in shock, unable to grasp how the fire devoured its light. With a desperate cry, the barrier shook violently as the flames spread wider. From outside, the whole barrier looked ready to explode. Moments later, it completely collapsed. Blue fire poured out like a raging waterfall. The dark guard reverted to its true form, body burning, vitality down to 17%, screaming in agony. Yanjin reached out, gathered the flames, and expelled them from the foe's body. The dark guard's form changed into a young woman. She wept, begging for mercy, saying she only attacked out of hunger. He coldly asked why she was here. She murmured she once lived near an extinct volcano. She added she sneaked in earlier to find food when she saw him arrive. Yanjin sighed and handed her some clothes. He tactfully turned away to give her privacy to dress. Then he used a level-up spell on the Dark Guard, spending 1 level point and 1 potion. Now she was his subordinate with 9 points left. Skill description: Thibing Cup ALV-42. Dark Hand drains life through black energy, turning it into weapons, clones, and illusion barriers. Yanjin admired the transformation, guessing another potion could permanently change hair color. The Dark Guard confidently posed, teasing that if he knelt under her skirt, the manor would be hers. Before she could continue, he scolded her and ordered her to restore the garden, making her flee in fear. After she left, he took the mutant corpse head from the swamp and cast a spell on it. The corpse revived as an ALV-42 slave with decay and terrain attack skills, now serving him. He ordered them to guard the manor from now on. The mutant obeyed and departed. Then he enhanced them with more power. In one corner, the Dark Guard was picking up fallen apples under the trees. Suddenly, a claw struck, knocking the Dark Guard away from the apple trees. The corpse worker used lightning magic to dig soil, preparing to plant more fruit trees. The Dark Guard wondered if everyone in the manor used magic for chores. Refusing to lose, she began using the Black Feather's clone spell to help. She created multiple shadow copies as labor tools. Soon, the entire garden was filled with busy black shadows. Yanjin watched from above, seeing the cleanup much easier and hoping the manor could sustain itself with more level points. However, he suddenly sensed something unusual behind him. Turning around, he saw smoke and noise from a distant mountain. Someone was fighting there. He used a piercing vision spell to see clearly. He saw a Bing Cup B Nan Yu standing in the middle of a battlefield. In the distance lay ruins, debris, and blood everywhere. Nan Yu calmly questioned a horde of undead about why the local investigation team was wiped out. Before she finished, a zombie lunged at her. It was a self-exploding type, yet she didn't dodge. As it touched her, a violent explosion erupted. In the thick smoke, she appeared unharmed within a green shield. She smiled, knowing her protective barrier had held. Such low-grade self-detonators couldn't pierce it. Around her, other mutant corpses charged in together. Nan Yu jumped high and cast the reflective shield technique to counter. One of the mutants suddenly screamed in agony, clutching its head. The shield around her vanished. The creature's body glowed green and exploded violently. The blast shook the entire ground. As she examined the aftermath, a familiar male voice called her good little sister from behind, making her freeze. She turned and teased, "Brother, seems I've gotten darker." Nanfeng smiled softly, saying he expected a welcoming hug. Instead, he got a thunderous punch. She shouted, forbidding him from joking like that. Nanfeng was sent flying, slamming into a rock, blood staining the ground. Nan Yu was stunned, surprised by her own strength. She glanced back, suspiciously asking, "Little demon, what strange spell did you pass to me?" A zombie behind her joked, scolding her for attacking right after meeting. It tore off its scalp, revealing a familiar face. It was Nanfeng, who removed his mask and smiled, saying he was now Shangshin A. She trembled with anger, eyes reddening. Tears fell as she screamed why he was alive but never came to find her. Nanfeng silently approached and gently patted her head. He said softly, "I'm here now. Whenever you appear where corpses gather, ill come." She looked up, curiously asking about the necromancy he used. Nanfeng avoided the question, vaguely saying it was a long story. He then spoke seriously, telling her to leave Ziguang City and assist him, as the place would soon be destroyed. Nan Yu was horrified, asking if he meant to kill the city's people, and Nanfeng coldly confirmed, enraging her. She accused him of straying, saying the Fang family were the real enemies, not innocent civilians. Nanfeng shouted that she understood nothing. The story flashed back 3 years earlier, when a mutant corpse appeared in the forest. A blade flashed brightly through the night. Nanfeng slew the creature with one strike, as someone warned him not to rely too much on corpse energy. He turned to see the man continue, warning that one day the demonic energy might consume him. That man was Yuan Hong, deputy captain of the 3rd Investigation Team. Nanfeng mocked the warning, asking why he believed such nonsense, since he'd never seen any side effects from using corpse energy. Yuan Hong insisted it was better to be cautious, while Nanfeng assured he would never become a mutant corpse. Soon after, Nanfeng noticed strange blood marks on his hand. He panicked, inspecting the wound on his palm. He wondered why his body was failing him at such a crucial time. Suddenly, strange noises echoed around. Turning, he saw soldiers surrounding him and asked what they were doing. Nan Feng shouted that he was the real one there, but he was ambushed and shot. He sat dazed in a corner, confused why soldiers attacked him just before his promotion. In response, 2 grenades were thrown his way. 2 blasts shook the area instantly. One soldier peeked out only to die moments later. As the man looked, a beam of light shot toward him. The soldier panicked, firing wildly, and before his comrades could react, they were cut down. Nan Feng burst from hiding, charging straight at the survivors. In an instant, he slaughtered all the troops. After the battle, he raged, vowing to annihilate all humans in that place. The scene shifted to the present, inside a vehicle outside Ziguang City, where Fang Qi was holding a meeting. The city lord and his aides reviewed the candidate list for the Guard Corps. Nan Feng's name appeared among them. Fang Qi read the file and saw he was once part of the Outer Patrol. Kai Fang noted that Nan Feng had repeatedly applied for the Guard Corps, but was rejected for high corpse energy contamination. Fang Qi scoffed, saying such a man shouldn't be accepted to avoid danger. As they spoke, Kai Fang's expression changed. Mutant corpses were approaching. As expected, a creature lunged out from the forest. It leaped onto the car roof, shattering the windshield. The beast's ferocious face with glowing red eyes peered inside. It raised its claws to strike into the car. Fang Qi froze in fear. Qi Fang calmly formed a spell, raising his hand to cast. His attack blasted Nan Feng away. Then Qi Fang dashed from the car like lightning. Ding Quang immediately chased after Nan Feng. Thrown back, Nan Feng muttered that the guard was stronger than expected. He lunged with a knife, slashing toward Qi Fang with full force. But the strike was stopped by Qi Fang's magic defense barrier. Nan Feng lost control, growling and demanding to know what spell it was. Qi Fang gave no reply and instantly hit him with another spell. Nan Feng was blasted over 100 meters away. Kai Fang sensed something off and turned around. A strange object was flying straight toward him. It exploded violently, yet Qi Fang stood firm, protected by his barrier. He saw the long crack in the ground and sneered that Nan Feng meant to use the blast to escape. But before chasing, Fang Qi shouted from the car to stop and fix the damaged vehicle. The car sped off as Fang Qi complained that the model was rare and must be taken to the old mechanic. Obeying orders, Qi Fang still fumed over letting Nan Feng escape, fearing he might spread infection in the city. Fang Qi, however, was indifferent, disregarding civilian lives. He leaned on the window, saying if too many peasants died, they'd just lack labor, nothing more. He ordered a citywide manhunt and execution for anyone who sheltered him. He added that Ren Xin should join the hunt, since that one loved chasing prey. Elsewhere, bloody footprints stained the ground. Nan Feng staggered through his wounds, seeking a place to hide. He clutched his bleeding arm, bitter that moments ago he was at the guard gate, but was now a hunted man. Suddenly, an emergency broadcast blared from the tower. He looked up. The screen showed his face with a warning. Mutant Nan Feng, extremely dangerous. Failure to report will result in execution. He trembled with rage, fists clenched. He shouted that he wasn't a mutant, that he had once been captain of Ziguang City's patrol team. His yelling drew the crowd's attention. Someone shouted for the guards to kill the mutant in the center. Others cursed in disgust, wondering how such a man was ever a captain. Nan Feng glared at them bitterly, saying he had risked his life for them on the front lines. Suddenly, he felt a cold presence behind gun barrels aimed at him. He was surrounded, ordered to drop his weapon and raise his hands. A voice demanded he kneel, but Nan Feng gritted his teeth and resisted. He gathered strength and leapt into the air. At that moment, a powerful kick struck him square in the face. He was thrown into the wall repeatedly. He finally crashed under a tree covered in blood. A deep voice spoke. It was Ren Xin, an elite A-plus guard, asking how he could retain his sanity despite full mutation. Nan Feng hoarsely replied that his foe could kill him now, but was wasting time asking nonsense. Ren Xin remained calm, reminding him that Fang Qi's order was total extermination. His arrival inspired the others to push beyond their limits. Nan Feng, exhausted, urged them to finish him before he lost control. Ren Xin rushed forward, gripping his face and declaring he wouldn't die that easily. Then he cast an illusion spell to suppress Nan Feng. A swirl of visions engulfed them both, dragging them into unconsciousness. In a dream, Nan Feng wondered where he was, whether he had died. Suddenly, a sword pierced through his chest, jolting him awake. Nan Feng woke in agony, dizzy and disoriented. His hands were tightly bound. Ren Xin declared he would study Nan Feng's body carefully, then drove his sword into several points. One stab pierced the thigh, another slashed the wrist to provoke reaction. A third thrust went through his chest, making him scream. The group analyzed that severe injury released corpse energy for healing, possibly causing full mutation. The key was to restrain instant corpse energy release to harness power while keeping humanity. After observing, the group sincerely thanked him for a month of cooperation, hoping to surpass their limits. Furious, Nan Feng lunged to strangle Ren Xin, vowing to kill him. Ren Xin calmly warned him not to waste strength. Losing control would mean worse consequences, and he still needed his head for merit. He stepped forward, ready to behead Nan Feng as final punishment for his lingering humanity. But before the sword fell, a massive explosion ripped through the air. When the smoke cleared, Nan Feng was gone. The chains were broken and wet marks on the wall showed someone had rescued him. Ren Xin noted the traces and silently praised the swift, clean rescue. The aura had vanished quickly. On a blood-stained trail far away, two figures staggered, supporting each other. They left a long red streak on the ground as an escape trace. It turned out Yuan Hong was the one who rescued Nan Feng from the cell. Nan Feng looked back, shocked, asking why she risked her life to save a wanted man. Yuan Hong smiled, reminding him not to forget why she had followed him all along. Nan Feng teased, asking if Yuan Hong had fallen for him. She grew angry, slapped him, and said she saved him for rank and money, not love. He wearily suggested building a camp outside the city, promising she could be leader while he'd serve as deputy. Just as he finished, a sudden, overwhelming force appeared. A sword shot straight toward Yuan Hong, startling her. Nan Feng stood frozen beside her, events unfolding too fast. Yuan Hong turned to see the attacker Ren Xin, growling that she couldn't escape their grasp. Nan Feng reacted quickly, lunging to help. But one of Ren Xin's men kicked him hard in the face. The blow flung him hundreds of meters away. Taking advantage of the distraction, Yuan Hong seized a guard's sword. She drew a large blade and slashed directly at Ren Xin. She was wounded in the chest, while her foe was cut at the waist. He roared in fury, ordering retaliation, enraged that anyone dared defy him. Wenhu remained calm, taunting him to continue. A fierce sword duel erupted between them. The sound of clashing steel echoed through the forest as neither side yielded. From afar, Nan Feng watched and decided to move in to assist. Yuan Hong leapt up, shouting for him to retreat immediately. Ren Xin seized the moment, lunging forward and snarling, asking what he was looking at. A slash broke Yuan Hong's sword, cutting deep into her shoulder, showing the power gap between ranks A and B. Nan Feng panicked, shouting for help. From afar, Ren Xin saw her slowly falling. He rushed forward to finish her off. Nan Feng struggled to stand and face him. But suddenly, Ren Xin felt something wrong. His whole body was slammed to the ground by a powerful force. He groaned that his body was out of control and his blood was boiling. A strange link appeared between Yuan Hong and the attackers. It turned out her skill, fiery blood equality, made enemies' blood boil and evaporate when mixed with hers. No wonder she dared face them with that ability. But Ren Xin confidently said it wasn't enough to kill him and reached for his sword. Yuan Hong panicked, urging the captain to run, saying he couldn't defeat this foe now. Nan Feng's heart twisted painfully. He finally turned and fled. Ren Xin shouted behind him to stop running. The linked enemy's blood grew hotter with each moment. Heat and the stench of blood filled the area. Yuan Hong gritted her teeth, enduring unbearable pain. Her body was eventually consumed by flames. Only ashes remained, no trace of life. Yuan Hong thought she had won, walking calmly, believing luck favored her. But before her was only a half-burned log. She realized too late she had been tricked. A bright sword flash came too fast to react. Yuan Hong's head was severed, falling into Ren Xin's hands. Her blood soaked the ground. He cursed furiously for letting his main target escape. Then he grinned wickedly, venting his rage on Yuan Hong's corpse. A week later, a strange vehicle drove around the barren field. The driver asked Ren Xin if they still needed to stay there. He coldly looked outside, trying to lure the stalker into the open. In the car's rear stood a tall pole. On it hung Yuan Hong's pale head, eyes still open, proof the killer hadn't stopped. Nan Feng hid in the bushes, eyes fixed on the vehicle. He trembled with fury, hating those who murdered Su Hong. But too weak, he could only swallow his rage and vow revenge. He swore to behead Ren Xin in vengeance. When recounting to Nan Yu, Nan Feng helped his sister understand the full story. The two agreed to take revenge on the Fang family and their allies. Nan Yu agreed to join on the condition civilians not be harmed. Nan Feng fell silent, thinking for a while. Then he smiled and accepted her condition. They didn't realize someone was hiding behind them. The stone under them rolled away, carrying secret intel back. In a mansion near the volcano's mouth, Yan Zhen listened to the report. He pondered, surprised that Nan Feng had sided with the girl. Yan Zhen reasoned that a temporary alliance with Nan Feng could help him oppose the Fang family. While deep in thought, he saw An Xiaoqi gracefully land on the roof. The B-rank girl approached softly, calling his name. Yan Zhen looked up, asking with concern if she had fully recovered. Before answering, she kicked a nearby pillar to pieces. Fragments fell, hitting a corpse worker in the garden. Startled, she apologized as the creature went berserk. Yan Zhen just laughed and clapped, joking that she destroyed things quite skillfully. He then ordered her to take full responsibility for managing the house from now on. Xiaoqi pouted, complaining he both punished and demanded compensation. Suddenly she froze, sensing something strange. The sunset's red hue that day looked ominously unnatural. Yan Zhen followed her gaze, voice deepening with a premonition of coming chaos. Elsewhere, a beetle fed near a chunk of meat. Suddenly, it was caught in a spiderweb and slowly died. From the ground, a zombie figure emerged. The creature slowly turned its horrifying face, foretelling disaster. Groups of zombies poured out from the forest, marching toward the city gates. The soldiers spotted them, terrified by the grotesque sight. They couldn't understand why so many undead were gathering. A hand rested on a soldier's shoulder as a calm voice spoke. It was Wu Fengzhan, who reassured them the creatures were weak and not a threat. Below, a mutant corpse suddenly roared and charged the gate. Its speed was unbelievable. Wu Fengzhan watched from above with disdain. He sneered, saying attacking a steel gate was pointless. But a nearby soldier shouted in panic, pointing out the real target. Yunzhan remained calm, unaware of the danger. The mutant dashed toward the wall beside the gate instead. On impact, a violent explosion erupted. Wu Fengzhan looked down to see the wall cracked open. He was stunned to realize the zombie had self-detonated, and many more were rushing in from afar. They seemed intent on destroying the entire wall to breach the city. A soldier nervously asked if the 2-meter wall could withstand it, while Wu Fengzhan began to lose composure at the massive numbers. Before he could react, the undead simultaneously detonated around the city wall. The wall shattered in multiple sections, collapse imminent. Wu Fengzhan clenched his teeth in fury, knowing a few more waves would end the defense. He quickly ordered soldiers to focus fire on the nearest enemies. Then, without hesitation, he leapt down to the base of the wall. Below, a zombie lunged to attack. Wu Fengzhan swung his blade, cleaving it in two. Within moments, he cleared an entire section of undead. Suddenly, another jumped to ambush him. But before it could strike, bullets tore it apart. Wu Fengzhan turned to see the troops inside the city firing in support. A relentless rain of bullets poured down. In a nearby forest, Nan Feng and a corpse soldier observed the battle. He ordered the Rot Queen to enhance the army's strength. The mutant nodded and cast the spore-spread corruption spell. From its hat, countless fungal spores dispersed into the air. Thousands of mushrooms sprouted at once, spreading rapidly. They rose high into the sky, flying in the same direction. Then all turned into paper planes, speeding toward the battlefield. Wu Fengzhan looked up and saw the sky filled with countless strange objects. He was shocked to realize this was a tactic to clear the way for the next attack. The swarm of paper planes dove straight into the frantic defense line. The soldiers couldn't react before being overwhelmed. A deafening explosion shook the fortress walls. Then hundreds more blasts followed, one after another. Bodies lay scattered and cracks spread wider across the wall. One soldier kept firing, unaware of the danger closing in. A fungal spore floated right behind him. When he turned around, it was already too late. A massive explosion tore through the air. Then hundreds more detonations followed, burning everything down. The entire defense unit was wiped out. Wu Fengjian looked coldly at the ruins, knowing the wall was lost. He guessed the enemy's corpse soldiers were as strong as his rank. At that moment, a giant foot appeared in the distance. It belonged to Grade B Violent Corpse Daiban, charging toward him. Its head carried something like a giant bomb. He frowned, sensing extreme danger. Quickly drawing his blade, he leapt up to face it. He unleashed his full power with the move Wu Fen Slash. But suddenly another paper plane flew in and cut across him. It exploded violently, engulfing him in flames. Wu Fengjian's burned body fell motionless to the ground. He realized he had made a careless mistake in the battle. Taking advantage, Daiban rushed straight toward the fortress wall unopposed. When just a meter away, it leapt and slammed directly into the wall. The impact blew the section apart, sending debris everywhere. Daiban fell amid the rubble. Then it suddenly triggered the bomb attached to its head. A blinding flash reflected off the terrified soldiers nearby. The devastating blast destroyed the entire fortress wall. At the same time, Nan Yu was exploring a secret tunnel below. She felt the ground shake and immediately warned her team. She still worried whether her brother was taking too much risk. Behind her was a giant violent corpse sent by Nan Feng, fierce and powerful. In Ziguang City, Fang Qi stood atop his family building watching the red sky. His subordinates urged him to go into the shelter for safety. But Fang Qi just smirked, confident because Qi Fang was still there. At the Fang family's main tower, a red protective field surrounded it. On the tower's summit, Qi Fang was focusing on her spell. Clearly, she was the one creating this protective shield. While concentrating, she suddenly sensed something approaching. Sure enough, the secret sewer lid outside the tower burst open. The ones emerging were none other than Nan Yu and the violent corpse beside her. Reaching the gate, Nan Yu stopped and said she would guide the way, leaving the shield breaking to him. As soon as she finished, light flared and the sound of clashing weapons rang out. Before she could react, the violent corpse had already raised its arm to block the incoming sword. Clearly, the Ziguang City forces had discovered them and were striking back. The corpse beast immediately countered, grabbing the enemy's sword blade. Then it swung hard, slicing the soldier in half instantly. The soldier fell dead at once, but many others kept charging. Suddenly, the corpse beast paused as if sensing something odd. He was the Grade A violent corpse, Shen Cai Shou Shi, Nan Feng's strongest bodyguard. Before him, the corpse of the fallen guard suddenly stood up on the tower roof. That corpse soldier leapt down fiercely. As it neared the ground, its weapon morphed into a giant hammer aimed at Shou Shi's head. Its body swelled monstrously, revealing its true form, Grade A violent corpse Guma Shi. Beneath Guma Shi's feet, a lost soldier trembled in terror. Guma Shi, without hesitation, raised its hammer to strike. The soldier turned pale, frozen in fear. As the hammer was about to hit, a massive bullet flew in from afar. It smashed into Guma Shi's weapon, exploding violently. The impact was so strong it knocked the hammer out of its hand. The heavy weapon flew off and lodged in the rubble behind. Guma Shi angrily turned to find the attacker, spotting a figure in the distance. It was Grade A corpse soldier Osen, coldly ordering it to retreat. The trapped soldier seized the chance to flee. Guma Shi redirected its rage, charging toward Osen with killing intent. It stepped back a few paces, then dashed forward like a beast hunting prey. Its massive body surged like a storm. But Osen calmly activated the technique Faith Transformation Barrage. A barrage of giant bullets fired continuously. Yet when they hit Guma Shi's flesh, they shattered harmlessly. Even so, she remained composed, unfazed. Osen drew the large axe from her back. She leapt forward, channeling spell energy into the axe blade. In an instant, the weapon enlarged and cleaved down on the violent corpse. After striking, Osen stood still, checking the result, thinking she'd won. But through the smoke, Guma Shi still stood firm, unmoved. It slammed a massive fist into the ground, causing violent tremors. Luckily, Osen dodged in time. She was shocked to see the monster still moving despite being decapitated. While she was distracted, another punch came at her. Osen quickly summoned a small shield and enlarged it to block. But the blow was so powerful it pierced through the shield. The force sent the shield flying hundreds of meters away. The violent corpse then swung its arm, summoning back the lost hammer. The weapon instantly flew back, landing perfectly in its hand. Holding the hammer again, it roared ferociously. Then it charged wildly to attack Osen once more. She drew a short blade, magically enlarging it 1,000-fold, slicing through the creature. Its enormous body split cleanly in an instant. Osen slowly approached to inspect the corpse. She gasped for breath, thinking it was finally over, her energy nearly drained. But suddenly, the violent corpse's body twitched and regenerated before her eyes. It grabbed Osen, trapping her inside its reforming body as its muscles tightened around her. In the instant between life and death, a blinding light flashed. One massive arm of the violent corpse was severed. The monster roared, raising its leg to crush its attacker. But Yanzhen swiftly unleashed the blue flame technique. The blazing fire engulfed the violent corpse completely. Finally, it was burned to ashes. The system recorded level-up points. Osen collapsed in exhaustion. Yanzhen warned that the violent corpse's core was still in Nanfeng's hands. If not destroyed, it would resurrect again. Osen ignored the warning, only surprised, asking, "You're the one from outside the city that day, aren't you?" But Yanzhen stayed silent and instantly vanished. At the fortress wall, another violent corpse had just wiped out the defending troops below. From above, Fang coldly watched, mocking that no matter how strong it was, it couldn't break her shield. At the tower's base, the violent corpse roared, raising its weapon to strike. Fang remained disdainful, believing a Grade A couldn't shake her Grade S barrier. Suddenly, a glowing hand appeared behind the monster. It was Nan Yu, smiling as she looked up at Fang. Immediately, the entire violent corpse shone brightly and vanished from its spot. Fang was stunned, hearing a loud crash right behind her. The violent corpse had teleported behind her, launching a surprise attack. The impact caused violent tremors atop the tower. Fortunately, Fang activated her defensive barrier just in time. She calmly faced the foe, her cold eyes measuring its power. Then she cast a spell, blasting the monster far from the tower. Thick smoke and dust covered the entire area. But as Fang turned away, thinking she had won, a giant foot emerged from the smoke. It advanced step by step, its cracked body regenerating even stronger. At that moment, a sharp blade suddenly appeared right behind Fang's neck.